Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has Kaguya seal given by Senju clan. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Project Equipment, and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Well crap, were the thoughts of one Naruto Uzumaki, as he moved around his tiny, pudgy arms. I can't catch a break, can I? If Naruto were honest, he should have expected this. Nothing ever went smoothly in his life after all. Rolling onto his back, he played with his orange rattle as he recalled the events leading up to him being thrown back in time. Flashback. The fight with Kaguya was reaching his climax, and Gyuki and Kurama had gotten sucked into her as well. Since Naruto was an Uzumaki like his mother, he could live for a couple of hours without his tailed beast inside him. There was no chance to reseal Kurama into himself, as Kurama wasn't alive anymore. The thought still brought some tears to his eyes. Glaring at Kaguya with all the hate he could muster, he appeared in front of her and set off a flash bomb. Since she had her Byakugan activated, Kaguya was temporarily blinded. He went near her and made a couple of Kaguya bunshin to hold her down. He then prepared to use the technique that was his last resort. He didn't want it to come to this, but there was no other choice. Sasuke was dead, his team was exhausted, and the world was in an illusion. Without Sasuke, he could not free everyone from the Mugen Tsukuyumi. He had nothing to live for anymore. But if he was going to die, he would try his damnedest to drag this hag down with him. Believe it! Flashing through hand signs at a rapid pace, he finished his technique before Kaguya could recover. In a low voice, accepting his death, he spoke. Fuinjutsu, Shiki Fujin. The ghostly visage of the Shinigami faded into existence, with the air turning frigid. Determined to get it done quickly, Naruto completed the technique and grabbed Kaguya's soul. But just as he was about to cut it using the Shinigami's dagger, Setsu came crawling back. It crawled up his body, like a black slime which looked all kinds of wrong. It was fighting Naruto, trying to prevent him from completing his seal. No, you will not destroy millennia of my work. You cannot be allowed to seal Mother away. It intoned in a raspy, gravelly voice. Naruto was already in his last legs, and he wasn't about to let this piece of gunk hamper all of his efforts. Fighting on with every last bit of his energy, he finally bit out through gritted teeth. Fuin! The Shinigami moved, and cut Kaguya's soul from her body, and sealed it within Naruto. Naruto knew what came next. He would be taken into the Shinigami's stomach, forced to fight Kaguya for all eternity. And since all the Hokage were released and there was no one on earth left alive, he would be alone in there, forever. Chuckling bitterly to himself, Naruto thought about his life. Born alone, lived alone, died alone, and even after death, he would still be alone. There would be no afterlife for him, no spending time with his parents or friends. He would live and die, never knowing the love of a family. Naruto closed his eyes and accepted his fate. Even though he was dealt a bad hand in life, he would still do it all over again for the sake of his precious people. It was who he was, after all. So Naruto awaited the Shinigami's cold touch but was surprised that it never came. The Shinigami was just looking at him. Gaining a bit of courage, he asked, Ano, is there something wrong? I've accepted my fate, you know? You must want my soul now, right? Naruto could have sworn that he saw a twinkle of amusement in those dead, hollow eyes. In a voice that personified death, the god replied, Technicalities are a wonderful thing, young man. I am supposed to take the soul of the person who casts the jutsu, and I will. But you realize your situation, do you not? Naruto wondered what the death god could have meant. He was the caster, right? He had only one soul in him, now that Kurama was gone. So what could? Naruto's head snapped up as realization dawned on him. Zetsu, the little worm, was still attached to him, fused with his being. Then Naruto wasn't going to die. He wasn't going to have to spend eternity alone? The thought nearly made him jump for joy. As if sensing this, the god immediately shot him down. No, I will not take your soul, but you will still suffer some consequences. The jutsu she used had taken all of the world's chakra into her, and you're about to seal her into yourself. Do you think you would remain the same after that? Naruto was about to ask a lot of questions when the god continued. Another fact unique to you is that, in case you forgot, you already have a Shiki Fujin on you. What happens when the seal is used twice on the same person, even I do not know. The god seemed to think, but one thing is for certain, the two seals will bind Kaguya to you, even after death. The prison is simply too strong. She won't ever be breaking out of that one. I'm not even sure if you can voluntarily open the seal. Naruto didn't know what to think. On the one hand, he wasn't going to die, and Kaguya would be defeated. But she would be stuck with him for eternity. Did he even want that? Zetsu was going to die, so only Kaguya remained. Making his decision, he nodded his head. The Shinigami regarded this, and cut the soul, sealing it into Naruto. It dragged a screaming Zetsu out of Naruto's body and ate it. Before Kaguya was sealed in him, she looked at Naruto with tears in her eyes. She faintly whispered before fading, thank you for freeing me. I'll see you soon, Ashura. Naruto was confused, as her behavior just now went against everything he knew of her. Not one to judge someone without knowing all the facts, Naruto decided that he would speak to her in the seal after this was all over. Just as Naruto was about to thank the god, blip, the god blinked. He blinked again. Naruto had simply vanished. Well, it was of no concern, there were many souls to reap after all. Flashback and that was all Naruto remembered before everything went black. When he opened his eyes and found himself in a bed, immediately beginning to panic, he tried to get into a defensive stance, to repel any attackers. But when he moved his arms, he found that they were small. As in really small. He thought he was caught in a genjutsu and tried to release it, but found that he couldn't access his chakra. This was even more worrying. Only when he looked up did he realize his situation. There was a mirror directly above him, with animal stickers on it. In it, he saw a blonde boy, WTH blue-eyed and whisker marks, who looked to be about 2 years old. He reached out. So did the boy, at the exact same time. Slowly taking stock of his situation, his eyes widened. I'm a kid. What the hell, Shinigami? What did you do to me? Is this why I couldn't access chakra? Because I haven't unlocked it yet? Where am I? Whose kid am I? What? He was broken out of his rambling when the door to his room opened, and in walked a very familiar figure, someone who Naruto knew really well. Someone who should be dead, Tsunade. She looked just as young as she did in his time, so he had no way of determining what time he had wound up in, due to her illusion over herself. His eyes locked onto her as she approached him, but he could not sense any ill intent. Tsunade sat down next to him and started stroking his hair. Time to get up, son, it's almost 10 in the morning, she said in a comforting voice. If possible, little Naruto's eyes widened even further. Son? What? Why was Bachan calling him son? Wait a minute. Is Bachan my Ka-chan? Okay, calm down, Naruto thought to himself while shaking his little head from side to side. He had freaked out the moment Tsunade had walked in and did the only thing he could think of doing. He cried. It had taken Tsunade about 15 minutes to calm him down, but the only difference that made was that Naruto was now silently freaking out. Eventually, he remembered his shinobi training, and seeing that he wasn't in immediate danger, he closed his eyes and started meditating as a way to take stock of his situation. To Tsunade, however, this looked like he was sleeping, so she left him alone. Reaching into his mindscape, he was relieved to find that he was in his adult form, at the climax of the war. He was expecting the usual sewer and ominous cage of Kurama, but what greeted him was anything but. He now stood in a pleasant meadow and was looking at a house. It was a 2-story house, which belonged to his parents. Wait, how did I know that? Chalking it up to yet another unknown variable of his current circumstances, he walked towards the house. He saw a couple of rabbits hopping away in the distance, which was strange. He didn't have any particular affinity towards rabbits, so why did he subconsciously think them up? He would have understood foxes, but rabbits? A mystery indeed. But it had to be him, didn't it? After all, who else? Kaguya. She's here, she's sealed in me, she's here. Naruto panicked as he thought over his next course of action. She was here. The woman responsible for all the suffering of the ninja world was here. But she was sealed, wasn't she? She must be, Naruto reasoned. The Shinigami had said so, after all. So, Naruto steeled himself and opened the door to the house. He walked in, slowly, towards the sitting area, where he felt her familiar presence. Naruto gulped. This was quite possibly going to be the most intense meeting in his life. The blonde was expecting a lot of things: anger, hatred towards him for sealing her again, despair, threats to annihilate the shinobi world, and so on. Expecting to be hated, cursed and reviled for his actions, even though he was probably just as clueless as she was. Preparing for the worst, Naruto turned the corner and went into the living room. He was expecting a lot of things. He most certainly was not expecting a drunk woman with a bottle of sake in her hand, passed out under the kotatsu. The only thing he could see was her face, which was poking out from under the blankets. Her head was tilted to the side, and she was drooling a bit at the mouth, while smiling a dopey grin. If Naruto didn't know this woman already, he would have maybe found her cute. She had her third eye closed as well, and her horns had turned into bunny ears. The blonde blinked. Once. Twice. The blonde rubbed his eyes, to make sure he wasn't seeing things. Was this the mother of all chakra, the rabbit goddess Kaguya Otsutsuki? Settling into a relaxed but still guarded stance, he approached the sleeping woman, ready for any attack. Crouching near her, Naruto was about to reach out and wake her up, when he heard her muttering something. Leaning closer, he heard, "No, not my sake, Kaguya-sama needs her sake, Naruto-kun hi-hi-hi." Shaking his head and schooling his expression, Naruto shook her awake. He decided to get some petty vengeance for all the grief this woman had caused him. At the top of his voice he shouted, "O old hag, wake up to Bayo. Now is not the time to be sleeping like a sloth." Kaguya jerked awake, snorting a bit from the shock. She groggily got up, and rubbed the sleep out of her eyes. Naruto idly noted that she was wearing the same attire she wore when they fought. She blinked, looked around the room, until her eyes finally settled on Naruto. Her eyes narrowed, then widened, and a host of emotions flickered across her face faster than the blonde could detect them. She finally settled on happiness and glomped Naruto. "Nakyun, what kind of cutesy name is that, oh? Naruto thought in alarm as he fought to get the goddess away from him. He pushed her away, ignoring her look of surprise and disappointment. He needed answers, now. With his patented Hokage face, he was going to use it when he made Hokage. He glared at her and spoke in his most serious voice. Explain. Instantly, Kaguya became serious as well and told him all that she knew. Well, we've time traveled to just after Tsunade and the others became Sannin. I know these names because our minds are linked. I'm actually not evil, and Zetsu was controlling me like he tried to do to you. And yes, these are bunny ears. Taking in all this information, Naruto did the only reasonable thing that came to mind. He passed out. He woke up after God knows how long, to find Kaguya sipping her sake under the kotatsu again. Only this time, he was under the kotatsu as well. Sighing in relief, he thought, good, she didn't kill me in my sleep. That lends credibility to her whole I'm not evil story. Getting up, he addressed the elephant in the room. He walked up to Kaguya and raised his clenched fist towards her. When she looked at him quizzically, he said, I already went through this with Kurama, so let's not do that dance again. He wanted to use Nishu to get this over with. Kaguya looked like she didn't understand, but bumped his fist anyway. And just like that, Naruto's worldview shattered. She's telling the truth, he thought in dismay and realization. Everything I knew was a lie, the war, her motives, everything. He sulked. Having more experience with getting godlike entities being sealed into him than is normal, he asked, well, you are telling the truth, how about we work together then? I mean, we are going to be stuck together for eternity after all. He offered with a smile. Kaguya's eyes lit up. I knew you were smarter than these monkeys, Nakyun. And I would love to work together with you. I am just as much of a victim in this as you are, after all. Don't worry about a thing, I will take care of you, she declared happily while holding her cheeks and swaying from side to side. All throughout her speech, Naruto had a steady sweat drop building up at the back of his head. In the flattest voice he could muster, he asked, is this some kind of crappy anime or what? This is honestly too much. We have the drunk Winnie-san trope, in addition to you being a bunny girl, plus the whole I was being controlled all along backstory. Are you sure you're not secretly in love with me because you saw my life and were inspired by how I would do anything for my precious people? Because that would make perfect sense. He deadpanned. This was far too convenient in his opinion. Kaguya looked positively affronted, as if what he'd said was an insult. She glared, pouted at him, and replied, how mean, Nakyun. Even I'm not that cliched. I'm definitely not in love with you. Besides, you're too young for me, peon. You don't say, Naruto thought in deadpan. Would have had more of an impact without the peon at the end. Anyway, Kaguya, I'm going to go out of my mind now and look around in the real world. If what you say is true, I have a family now, and I would like to enjoy the second chance I've given. She nodded while still sipping her drink. Okay, Nakyun, have fun. She waved at him. If you need my power, just call on it, though I doubt how much your body can handle at the moment. Throughout her tirade, Naruto had been steadily backing away in fear, until he simply went out of her mindscape, cutting her out. He found himself back in his bed, and the clock showed that about 1 minute had passed. Good, at least time works the same way it did before, he thought in relief. While opening a telepathic link, he thought, now let's see about communication. Hi baby Ruto, how are you? Not going down that rabbit, why? Hole anytime soon. Naruto thought while cutting off Kaguya. Let's see, childhood number 2. I still have a chakra entity sealed inside me, born again to someone of Uzumaki descent, still blonde, and I still have my whisker marks. But I don't have Kurama, maybe? He mused. Where is the fur ball anyway? I'll have to check. Then Naruto shook his head, returning to the topic. But most of all, I have a family now. I'm Naruto Senju, he thought with pride. I wonder if I can steal the Hokage seat from my dad? He wondered while cackling madly. The leaf was about to be reintroduced to the most unpredictable ninja. Okay Naruto, let's summarize what's happened so far. You're about 2 years old, the heir to the Senju clan, Tsunade's son, and have the progenitor of all chakra stuck inside your gut. Naruto thought while lying in his bed. All in all, there's still some time left before all the major stuff goes down, so I can chill and enjoy my childhood for the time being. Naruto was really excited for that last part. He had a family now, a family who loved him. Even though Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki would always be his parents, he had new ones now, Tsunade and Dan. Naruto had just sorted through the memories of the 2 years of his life. He was pleasantly surprised to find that he was cared for by his parents, and a slew of handmaidens of the Senju clan, with his mother as his personal doctor. They also spoiled him a lot, as evident by the multitude of toys and games he had in his room. The best of them, by far, was his orange rattle. It was a bright neon orange in color, and every time he shook it, it showed a cartoon of Hashirama jumping over a cartoon of Madara. It goes without saying that Naruto always had the rattle with him. Madara was still alive at this time, Naruto mused. He would need to do something about him before he got to Obito. Was Obito even born yet? He was Minato's student, and Naruto didn't know how old Minato was. Well, nothing he could do for a couple of years anyway until he could access chakra and walk around freely in the village. Till then, he would chill and enjoy his new lease on life. Naruchan, did you get up? Ah, his mother. The blonde would never have imagined that Tsunade could act so loving towards anyone. In her defense, he was her son, so she could be excused. But Naruto had seen only Tsunade from this time, no one else in the 1 hour he was here. So he could not make any assumptions as of yet. What he gleaned from his memories, though, was that both her brother Nawaki and her husband Dan were alive, the latter being his father. This fact, along with Mito Uzumaki still being alive, had served to ground Tsunade to the village. She wasn't disillusioned with the world like she was in his life. Her request for the medic mean program had been accepted instead of rejected this time around, and thus she was able to see her precious people live. She was happier as a result, though Jiraiya wasn't spared from her wrath. Naruto could remember the sage getting pummeled for his habits dozens of times. Tsunade was a fair-skinned woman with brown eyes and straight blonde hair that parted above her forehead. Her hair was in shoulder-length bangs that framed her face, and the rest reached her lower back. She wore her hair in a ponytail, unlike in pigtails in the future. She had on her usual outfit from his time, but without her green haori. She didn't have her genjutsu on, as she was naturally young in this time period. But Naruto didn't care, for now, he would enjoy what having a doting parent felt like. Tsunade walked into his room with a serene smile in her face as she looked at her son. She went towards him and picked him up in her arms, earning a happy gurgle from Naruto. She wondered what she had done to make Kami bless her with this child. He was just a bundle of sunshine. He was always smiling, always happy. He could lift the spirits of anyone around him simply by giving his, in her opinion, foxy grin. The adorable smile on his face would cause the kid's cheeks to dimple and his whisker marks to curl up. The Sannin still had no idea how her son had acquired those birthmarks of his. Naruto was part senju, part Uzumaki and part Kato, from his father. Who knew what genes had done that to the boy? Tsunade could admit that he looked extra cute with them, though. Kami, I'm going to have to beat the girls off him with a stick, aren't I? She thought in righteous fury. If any of those hussies try to hit on my son, they have another thing coming. A small hand poking her cheek snapped Tsunade out of her musing. She looked down to see her son looking at her with childlike curiosity. Mama? Tsunade nearly squealed at her child's cute voice. What would Jiraiya say if he saw her fawning over her child like this? She was supposed to be a strong kunoichi, but when her little Naruto spoke about her like that, she just couldn't bring herself to care. How could she, when her son was looking absolutely adorable in his baby blue onesie, which brought out his doe-like eyes? Naruto was really the cutest kid she had seen, and it wasn't because he was her son. Naruto looked so much better than all the other ugly babies she knew. Mama was also Naruto's first word, much to her happiness and Dan's chagrin. Since her son was almost 2, he could say basic words like mama or papa, and he could walk on his own. She still liked to carry him, though. Nothing, Naruchan, just thinking about what a cute son I have, she exclaimed while tickling his sides, which made the boy giggle excitedly. Oh, how she loved her son. Mama, stop. Tiki's Naruto got out between his laughs. He couldn't speak big words properly yet, but it got the message across. Ruffling the boy's hair, Tsunade spoke. Okay, Naruchan, I'll stop. But someone is here to meet you, so let's go see them, okay? K, said Naruto, and snuggled into her arms. Tsunade carried him out, where his guest was. It was still about 11 in the morning, and Dan was out on a mission. So was Nawaki, so she was the only one in the Senju compound along with her grandmother, Mito Uzumaki. Her, and their guest, who was in front of her right now. Jiraiya, what are you doing here? She asked in exasperation, looking flatly at the toad sage, who was taking notes in front of her. She would have punched him if she didn't have her son in her arms. Jiraiya looked up from his notepad, and his face paled. For all his tall and muscled glory, he was still very scared of Tsunade's wrath. Faster than a shunshin, the notepad disappeared as if it were never there. Laughing nervously, he answered her. What else? I came to see my godson, of course, he declared, puffing up his chest in pride. Jiraiya really did love Naruto, and wanted Naruto to look up to him, and respect the great man that was Jiraiya-sama. He dreamed of when Naruto grew up, so they could do their research together. He would train Naruto in his ways, and turn the boy into a great man. His delusions of grandeur were ruined, however. All of his pride and spirit were crushed by 2 words that came out of Naruto's mouth, accompanied by a disgusted glare. Icky frog. When Naruto was being taken to whoever came to see him, he was wondering what he could do to pass the time until he could start fixing things. He could barely walk and talk as he was, so he needed something to do. He was planning on making a list of things he needed to fix, and at what age to start fixing them. But all his musings were cut short when he saw the man who had come to see him, Erosenin. Now, since Naruto had 2 years' worth of memories of him already, the blonde wasn't about to break down crying at the sight of his once-dead sensei. But it was a little overwhelming to see the old hermit in person after so long. Since no one would suspect a baby for crying in the presence of Jiraiya, Naruto knew that he wouldn't come off as suspicious if he were to cry. But the blonde, being the prankster he is, adopted a different course of action. Making the most disgusting face which he had reserved for his greens, Naruto spoke in a dead voice. Icky frog. Jiraiya's reaction was worth it. The man slumped over. It looked like he had been shot in the heart with an arrow. He appeared so crestfallen that Naruto took mercy on him, and started giggling. He hoped that Jiraiya would get the joke. He wouldn't be the Ero Senin Naruto knew if he wasn't Ero now, would he? Jiraiya was prepared to renounce the world and really become a hermit. That's how much Naruto's words had struck him. He was a self-proclaimed super pervert, but was it worth it? He could enjoy his research as much as the next guy, but was it worth his godson looking at him as if he was the scum of the earth? It wasn't, he decided. He needed to be a good influence if Naruto was ever going to respect him. Just as he was gearing up to renounce his books and lifestyle forever, Naruto pointed at him and started giggling. The sage could detect a faint glint of amusement in those icy blue eyes. Could a 2-year-old kid even understand what he had said, and the implications of those words? Why was Naruto looking at him like he wanted Jiraiya to know that it was all a joke? Was something up? Shaking his head, Jiraiya snapped out of his thoughts. It's just my paranoia from the war acting up. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Naruto. The war is over, don't obsess over it. It's been a year already, my anxiety isn't lessening. Looking down, the hermit looked at the small kid with a look of mock hurt. Oh Naruto, how your words wound me. I'm not icky, I'm a man of culture, he exclaimed proudly. Just you wait, my beloved godson, I will introduce you. Jiraiya wisely shut up when he saw the look of sheer rage Tsunade was giving him. He had enough experience with her to know when to shut up. Tsunade spoke, not letting up her glare. Jiraiya, remind me again why I made you his godfather. She cut him off before he could defend himself. If you even think about corrupting my Naruto, I will stab you with a rusty kunai, and then throw you into the forest of death, got it? She finished with a snarl, while little Naruto was smirking at him, the little brat. Seeing as this was getting nowhere, the sage began, I just wanted to see Naruto, and you before I go on my mission. It's a long recon mission, it might take me months to return. He finished seriously. Since the second shinobi war ended last year, we need to keep watch over the other villages. It's been 3 years since we became the Sannin, but I haven't seen or heard about Hanzo yet. I have to go, but I can't tell you where, sorry. He apologized, but Tsunade just waved it off. If it was classified, it was classified. The medic's eyes softened. However perverted he may be, he was still her teammate, and one of the most important people in the world to her. She was happy that he got over his childhood crush for her, but he still hadn't settled down. Sitting beside him, she gave him Naruto, who was reaching out to the Sannin with his pudgy little arms. Here you go. Naruto was sad to see that his godfather was going on an extended mission again. Naruto was naturally wary whenever anyone close to him had a solo mission. Jiraiya had died on one after all. He reached out to Jiraiya and was gathered into his strong arms. With his limited vocabulary, he conveyed his message the best he could. Come back? He asked while tilting his head. Jiraiya looked surprised that he understood what was going on, but it faded into a small smile. Stroking his hair, the sage said, I'll always come back to see you, Naruto. Naruto nodded happily, seemingly satisfied with his answer. It was about an hour till Jiraiya left to go on his mission, and silence reigned over the house once more. Naruto was sure of one thing though. This time, he would protect everyone. Naruto was put in his bed shortly after, as Tsunade had work to do. She did leave him with a nanny though. Miss Miyu, her name was. She was about 50 years of age, and she had looked after Tsunade herself when she was a baby. The Sannin would not trust anyone else with her child. The thought of someone caring about his well-being without expecting anything in return was new to Naruto. Granted, Konoha had started looking at him as a hero, but that was after he saved the village. The experience of someone loving him just for who he was, without him having to prove himself, brought tears to his eyes. Miss Miyu assumed that he was just crying for baby reasons, so she started patting his head while soothing him. Naruto gradually closed his eyes and went to sleep. It's what babies did, after all. He woke up in his mindscape, delighted to be in his 16-year-old body again. He went into the house in which his tenant was residing. He was surprised that she hadn't contacted him during his meeting with his godfather. She seemed rather affectionate with him after all. She was also the progenitor of all chakra. All chakra. That meant Naruto could theoretically access every Kekkei in the world. The thought brought stars to his eyes. He needed to leave shadow clones in here to train all the abilities he got from Kaguya, he mused. Speaking of whom, Nakyun. Oof. Naruto grunted in exertion as the bunny girl, he still had trouble grasping the concept, barreled into him and tackled him to the ground. She then proceeded to nuzzle her cheek with his, prompting a sweat drop from the blonde. Oh, aren't you taking this too far, Kaguya? He asked in exasperation, but his sweat drop increased as she paid him no mind. He then decided to try a different tactic. Wani-chan, please let me go, he whined like a child. Yes. He thought, as Kaguya instantly disconnected from him and sat in a formal position. Yes, Nakyun? Did you come to see your Wani-san, Pian? She asked, eyes glimmering with hope. Naruto didn't understand what was wrong with her, so he decided to indulge her until he knew better. Okay, I know that you aren't evil, but that's all I got. Nishu doesn't allow me to read memories or anything, it just allows us to understand each other. So what's your story? Kaguya looked shocked as if she was not expecting such a question from the blonde. He guessed that she was just used to people seeing her as a monster without feelings. Well, Naruto was going to change that if he had anything to say about it. Taking a deep breath, she began. Kaguya was surprised when Naruto asked her about her story. She was used to people persecuting her for things she didn't mean to do, and it was a refreshing change to find someone who understood her. And he did understand her, just as she did him. He was indeed an admirable young man, and she had no qualms being bound to him for all eternity. She thought over when he asked her if she loved him. She wasn't in love with him or anything. If anything, he was like a younger brother to her. But he was right. They were stuck together for eternity, after all. Who knows what would happen, she thought while giggling slightly. She had some ideas on what was going to happen with the seal, but there was still some time for that. Shaking her head and getting back on topic, she answered him. Well, I ate the chakra fruit to bring peace among the lands. At first, it was all good. I was revered as a goddess, and I gave birth to my 2 sons, Hagoromo and Hamura. I don't even remember their father, as he was some random man I sought to help me perpetuate the Otsutsuki line. I was so close to achieving peace until he happened. She spat out that word in disgust, and Naruto could tell that she was referring to Zetsu. Seeing as he was listening, she continued. Zetsu was like, how do I put this, a worm in the fruit if you will. I ate Zetsu along with the fruit, and he latched onto me like a parasite, feeding on my chakra, gradually influencing me with promises of domination. It was like mind control, and Zetsu thought that I was his mother, truly a sick creature that knew no better. She paused, catching her breath. It was hard to reminisce, but she could give the blonde that much. Schooling herself, she continued. Then, I started to hate my sons for having my chakra, but they weren't my own emotions. In a few years, we fought, which led to me being sealed. I don't know what happened while I was in there, and I was unsealed by Zetsu. And you know the rest. She finished. She waited for what Naruto's reaction would be. She did not expect it at all. Naruto sat patiently as he heard Kaguya tell him an abridged version of his life. He wasn't expecting her whole story, after all, just the essential bits. It would be weird if she suddenly launched into a long tirade about her happy childhood as a princess, and how she just wanted to help people ever since she saw a little girl begging to her for food or something. When she was done, Naruto could see her looking at him expectantly with a bit of fear, as if she was expecting him to shun her, curse her very existence. Seeing the strongest woman in the world so vulnerable, Naruto just wanted to pull her into a hug and assure her that everything would be alright, that he wasn't going to leave her, and he did just that. Kaguya squeaked as she was pulled into a firm embrace, and held tightly against Naruto's chest. Eep, you don't need to worry about anything, I know exactly how you feel. Naruto soothed, as Kaguya started shivering in his arms. She must have really held on to this pain for a long time, he thought. We're stuck together now, so we'll have each other's back, alright? He said with his signature grin, so cheer up. You learn from your mistakes, that's what matters, right, Oni-chan? He finished a tad hesitantly, having been exposed to her somewhat eccentric behavior. Hearing that last part, Kaguya relaxed in his arms. She was just so happy to be accepted wholeheartedly, to be forgiven for her past mistakes and given another chance, that she could not rein in her emotions. The goddess sobbed. And all the while Naruto just stayed with her, stroking her hair and comforting the distraught woman. Kaguya calmed down after about 15 minutes. She reluctantly separated from the blonde, wiped her eyes on her kimono sleeves, and smiled happily at Naruto. Thank you so much, Naruto, I really needed that, she said, dropping her act due to the heartfelt moment. You even called me Oni-chan, that's one better than what I was expecting, peon. It makes me so happy, and just like that, she was swooning from side to side again. So what now, Nakyun? Naruto hummed in thought until he came upon a realization, which he voiced. Well, since I can't get out for at least 3 more years, should we start by making a list about the things we need to fix? He asked, earning a nod from the goddess. So they sat down with a pen and paper and made a list of everything they could remember that needed to be fixed. Man, I'm glad I read all those history books during my training trip, otherwise I would have been lost. Naruto thought in relief. After seeing his obviously lacking education, Erosenin had made him read books in his downtime. He was never more thankful for that fact. With that thought, they continued making the most important list in the world. Now, if Naruto were smarter, he would have stuck to the shadows while fixing the world. He would have changed the bare minimum of events due to the consequences the changes would have on the timeline. If Naruto were smarter, he would have known what the butterfly effect or timeline theories meant, and he would have not held on to his belief that everyone can be saved. But this was Naruto Uzumaki, and he was not renowned for being smart. The future was going to get all sorts of crazy. The Ninja Academy was a well-established landmark in Konoha, surrounded by lush trees. The building stood as a fortress of education, the place to train young shinobi to better serve their village and protect their comrades. The leaf symbol was displayed proudly over the gateway, alerting the young minds of the glory of this archaic institution. The academy was indeed a temple of learning, a bastion of guiding the new generation of noble warriors. It was revered and respected by everyone in the village, shinobi and civilians alike. Should I paint it orange or pink? Everyone bar Naruto, who was sitting on the swing opposite to the academy while snickering like a fox. The parents of the new students gently guided the children away from the boy, knowing who he was and not wanting to somehow offend the senju heir. Naruto-chan, stop cackling like an evil scientist and come with me. Tsunade shouted from near the gate, already knowing what thoughts were running through his mind. Naruto was 4 years old, and he was one little demon spawn. The irony was lost on her. Tsunade had lost count of the pranks the little brat had pulled around the house, from dyeing her hair white to drawing over Dan's face when he was sleeping and conveniently forgetting to tell him about it before he went to a mission briefing. The list was long, ridiculously so. It was 2 years ago that Tsunade had first discovered her cute little child's mischievous side, though that didn't make him any less endearing. "Coming, Ka-chan!" came the excited cry, as her son skittered over from the swing he was sitting on. She was intrigued when instead of mingling with the new students as most were doing, Naruto instead bounded off to the desolate swing across the academy. She was observing him, and she saw that he stared at the swing almost fondly, as if he were reliving some precious memories. If only she knew that the said memories were anything but pleasant. In a burst of speed not suited to a 4-year-old, Naruto dashed and appeared next to her. This was another reason it was so hard to catch Naruto after he was caught pranking the little kid was fast. Absurdly fast. Tsunade still wondered how those little feet could carry Naruto's tiny body at such high speeds. She could track him just fine, but a 4-year-old should not be that fast. But then again, calling Naruto a normal 4-year-old would be like calling the Kyuubi a furball. Tsunade remembered the moment clearly when Naruto had unlocked his chakra for the first time, as well as the shocked looks shown on the faces of the audience. Flashback 18 months ago, Naruto, now almost 2 years and 6 months old, was meditating in the senju training ground with a constipated look on his face. On the sidelines stood his parents, Uncle Jiraiya, the Sandame, as well as Danzo, the elders and Orochimaru. Naruto was pretty sure that Mito was watching him from the window of her room on the second floor. The older shinobi had explicitly requested to see the senju prodigy awaken his chakra. Just the thought made Naruto inwardly roll his eyes. Could they be any more transparent? He could practically feel the new tool/new test subject vibes rolling off Danzo and Orochimaru, respectively. They both were looking at him like Orochimaru looked at Sasuke. This fact did nothing to reassure the blonde. Seriously, look at how creepily they're staring at me. Naruto thought while feeling slightly weirded out. How the hell did no one capture them the first time around? They're so obvious. People see what they want to see, Nakian Kaguya supplied unhelpfully. Ever the productive tenant this one, the reason for labeling Naruto as a prodigy in the first place was foolish, in his opinion. At 2 years old, he could somehow speak words not natural to his age, albeit the smaller ones he could pronounce. He also had better situational and social awareness as compared to his contemporaries, them being other 2-year-olds. Of course he did, he was technically 16 after all. Still, ever since the first word out of his mouth on seeing Hiruzen had been Hokage, they were all extremely invested in his training, mainly seeing how much chakra he had, his elements and such, which is what he was trying to do, but his chakra wasn't surfacing, the blasted thing. Tsunade, when is young Naruto going to awaken his chakra? It's been 5 minutes already. Danzo drawled while managing to look simultaneously bored and irked. Yes, Danzo, precisely. It's been only 5 minutes. Tsunade retorted, getting fed up with the old coot already. Either shut up or leave. She finished, rubbing her temples. Why did these 3 idiots have to show up today? They had better not pressure her Naruto into becoming a hyper-focused killing drone, or she would have words. With her fists. Yeah. Chirped little Naruto, making her smile. Danzo harumphed but shut up, mumbling about the glory of the great tree or some other drivel. He was promptly ignored. Meanwhile, Naruto was in his mindscape, figuring out what was wrong with his chakra. Kaguya was sitting beside him, drinking again. How was he stuck with a drunk old hag in whatever time he found himself? Could it be an effect of the double seal? Inquired Naruto, stroking his cheeks. Though a physical seal didn't show up on his body, he could never know for sure unless he used chakra. He didn't want anyone to see a complicated seal on his stomach. That would be bad, to say the least. Kaguya hummed and thought but ultimately shook her head. I don't think so. Did this happen the first time around, Peon? She asked, just as intrigued as him. Naruto recalled what had happened the first time around. No one wanted to teach the Kyuubi brat to wield a weapon that could be used against them by the demon, so he had been on his own. Gigi had told him that chakra was like a well of energy inside his body, and he just had to reach out and grab it. Naruto, being Naruto, did not understand the whole physical-spiritual theory of it, so he had just squeezed until he hit something. And it had worked. I'll try to power through it. That always works for me, anyway. He said in a disinterested tone as he disappeared out of his mindscape. He opened his eyes to find everyone staring at him expectantly, keenly observing his next move. He didn't even look to find out what Orochimaru was doing. The guy was too creepy. Settling once more into the lotus position, Naruto squeezed. He didn't even know what he squeezed, but he squeezed something nevertheless. Almost there. Everyone watched with bated breath as the kid seemed to intensely focus, and waited, and waited, and waited. They were prepared to correct the boy's posture as he was clearly doing something wrong, but then they felt it. Power, at a level not natural for a toddler. There was almost as much chakra in the boy as most mid-level chunin. Sarutobi moved towards him and was about to stop the boy, to prevent passing out from chakra exhaustion. It happened to most kids who awaken their chakra for the first time, and with such massive reserves, Naruto would be hit that much harder. He was not prepared, however, for a branch to fall and hit him in the face. He caught it, of course, as he wasn't the Hokage for show. But then he took stock of the branch. It wasn't a dry or loose branch that had fallen like he initially thought. The branch was still attached to the tree Naruto was sitting under, the branches of which were moving and creaking ominously, as if protecting Naruto from harm. There was only one possible conclusion that could be drawn when trees responded to a senju's chakra. Mokutan, he whispered, eyes wide in shock. The reactions were instantaneous and very predictable. My son has the Mokutan. Dan spoke, still not quite there. My godson has the Mokutan. He will be a kick-ass shinobi. Jiraiya shouted, then his face adopted a horrified expression. Oh no, this means, Kakukuku Naruto-kun, such an interesting young species child. You are, Orochimaru stated, a tad nervously at the end for his slip-up. Nawaki was silent, still awed. Interesting indeed. I wonder how much Konoha will prosper with another Mokutan user in our ranks. Danzo mused, clearly intrigued. The elders' grumbles of approval were disregarded by everyone present, not that anyone particularly cared. But the most important of them all. Ha! I knew it! My son has the Mokutan! Tsunade shouted, clearly satisfied with herself. Pay up, Jiraiya. It was a mistake betting against my Naruto-chan and me, she finished while laughing uproariously. Jiraiya sulked some more and handed over a fat wad of notes to the kunoichi. That explained his horrified expression earlier, Naruto mused. Speaking of the prankster blonde, he decided to do just that, prank. Time to repay the creeps in kind, he thought. SSHHHRRR. Orochimaru, Danzo and the elders promptly found themselves covered in lots of dead leaves. They didn't register some leaves as a threat, hence didn't dodge. It was still funny though. Naruto giggled at the sight and was shortly joined by Tsunade and Jiraiya. Said woman scooped up her son in her arms and cooed at him. Oh, you're just a little gem, aren't you, Naruto-chan? She exclaimed happily, nuzzling her cheek with his. This made the boy giggle even more. While laughing with his mother, Naruto missed the look sent to him by Danzo and Orochimaru. It was going to be an impressive few years in the future. Flashback and, since then, Naruto had trained as much as his tiny frame would allow him, and with the help of the many abilities he gained from Kaguya, he was already up to his 13-year-old level. Now it was his first day at the academy, and he couldn't wait to make new friends and find new precious people to protect. His old friends would forever remain in his heart, but he had a new family now. And he would not allow them to die like his old ones had, believe it! Gaining a new determination, Naruto went with his mother to the lobby, where all the genin hopefuls were arriving. He looked around, seeing if he could recognize anyone. He was a bit alarmed at how many resemblances he found. There were some children from the Uchiha clan, identified by the fan crest on their backs. This included a girl who looked very close to young Sasuke from his time. There was another notable Uchiha, a boy, who was apparently swaying on his feet. What the hell? Naruto thought in surprise. An Uchiha who isn't standing still and glaring at everyone? Who is that boy? Kaguya hummed in agreement, clearly intrigued as well. Towards their left, there was a woman with short spiky hair with fang markings on her face, signifying an affiliation to the Inuzuka clan. She looked excited to be here, as did most other kids. This was probably Kiba's mom, some Inuzuka. Then there were two identical stoic-looking boys, with the signature pale eyes of the Byakugan. Naruto noted. It was evident that they were twins, and Naruto knew exactly who they were. Hayashi and Hizashi Hyuga, the fathers of Hinata and Niji, respectively. Hizashi had a bandana over his forehead, which must have that horrid seal underneath. We have to get rid of that peon. Kaguya chimed in, and Naruto fully agreed. That seal would be the first to go when he made Hokage. Next in line were three vastly different people, who at the same time managed to look eerily similar to their children, the Ino Shikacho trio. The blonde, Inoichi, was dragging the exasperated Shikaku with him, while Chuza Akimichi followed them whilst munching on chips. Naruto knew who all these people were, having fought with them in the war. The only people he didn't recognize were the two Uchihas because they were dead by the time Naruto graduated. There was one civilian he recognized very clearly, though, Minato Namikaze. The blonde looked remarkably similar to Naruto, except for the narrower face and absence of whisker marks. Thankfully Tsunade was blonde as well, or else people might suspect the two kids of being long-lost brothers. Minato was just lounging around, but Naruto noticed that no one had come to drop him off. Naruto swore to befriend his father from another world and make sure that his counterpart never had to experience what he had. Naruto completely forgot about the single member who was from the Aburane clan, a fact which he would realize months later. He was snapped out of his musings when he saw a man who was probably their sensei, approaching the podium. Sensei was a brown-haired man with an average build, and thick-rimmed glasses. He had a slight limp in his step. It was barely noticeable, but it was there, which made Naruto wonder if that was the reason behind the man's current job. Sensei stepped up and cleared his throat to gain attention. Seeing as everyone was looking, he began. Greetings to all the parents and prospective shinobi of the village. The Ninja Academy aims to educate you and give you the tools to become competent soldiers who will bring glory to Konoha. The man said, My name is Sora Miyamoto, and I will be teaching your class for the next 6 years, along with another faculty. All the students were smiling in anticipation at starting a new chapter in their lives. Now if the parents would please leave the children here, we will be beginning with the classes immediately. Hearing that, many of the parents started wishing their children well and leaving. Naruto was again hit by a wave of nostalgia. There was no one scorning him this time around, no one telling their kids to stay away from that boy or the like, and he actually had someone to say goodbye to. He had an actual family this time, people who actually cared. To most kids, having your parents drop you to school would be embarrassing, but Naruto knew otherwise. He would never take their love for granted and would strive to be someone Tsunade and Dan could be proud of, and if it were up to him, he would go with his mother to school every day. Quickly wiping his eyes so no one would see the tears that had gathered, Naruto turned to Tsunade, wearing a bright smile, a genuine smile. "Ka-chan, I have to go, I'll see you later today, okay?" Tsunade ruffled his hair and nodded, a small smile on her face. "Yes, Naruto-chan, I'll see you when I come to pick you up, okay?" she asked and then gave him a stern tone. "Make sure to behave, young man. I don't want any complaints about you on the first day, got that?" Naruto merely nodded, with a determined fire in his eyes, surprising Tsunade. "Hi Ka-chan, I'll be someone you can be proud of, believe it," he finished with a fist pump, running inside with the other students. Tsunade turned around and left for her house, smiling sadly. Her son was growing up so fast, it felt like weeks when it had really been 4 years. He had a heart of gold and the power to back it up, yet he was worried about making her proud, this silly boy. "You already have, Naruto, you already have," she said softly while heading to the hospital. Naruto walked into his class, along with the rest of the kids. He sat next to the Uchiha boy from earlier, with the Inoshikacho trio occupying the other side. He spotted some sitting with the Uchiha girl, and some other girls he didn't know. Hayashi was sitting behind him, and Hizashi was seated one row behind his twin as if guarding him. It seemed to Naruto that the fate ideology of his had already taken root. Hayashi was glancing back at his brother from time to time like he wanted to call him over, but he did nothing in the end. The class quieted down when Sora-sensei came to the desk, still slightly limping. He cleared his throat and addressed the children. "Welcome to your first class of the academy. Since we are currently in peacetime, the course has been relaxed and extended to 6 years. You will learn about the basics like history for the first 2 years. The class groaned collectively, but Sensei continued, then taijutsu, ninjutsu and genjutsu for the next 2, and finally a specialization for the final 2 years, of your choice. The curriculum was simple enough. 2 years of basic knowledge, 2 years of ninja arts, and 2 years of anything from kenjutsu to fuinjutsu. Naruto couldn't wait for that part specifically. Since he had Uzumaki blood running through his veins, seals came really easily to him as a result. "Sensei, why can't we start the cool stuff already?" Some whined, getting nods of agreement from many others. The students were already murmuring about all the cool jutsu and awesome techniques they would learn here. Sora just sighed and shook his head as he was used to this question. Every year the new brats asked the same thing, over and over again. All these kids wanted was cool jutsu and flashy techniques. Why could they not understand that the basics were just as, if not more important? Why had he taken this job again? Ah yes, because he had an accident in the line of duty, making him unfit to continue as a shinobi. This job was his backup. Sora looked at the prospective candidates in his class. There was the Uchiha heiress and one other boy, who was wobbling in his seat. Then there was the Hyuga heir and his sibling, the Inoshikacho heirs, and the Inuzuka heiress. There were some civilians as well, but none of them stood out. Then his gaze went to the little blonde boy seated next to the Uchiha, Naruto Senju. The Hokage had spoken highly of the boy, mysteriously telling Sora to watch him closely lest you miss an amazing feat. Well, the boy didn't look like much, though he didn't have the arrogance expected of a clan heir. Sora would watch the boy closely, he was an interesting kid, but for now, he had to deal with the new kids. He cleared his throat again to get attention. "I am sorry the curriculum is not up to your standards, Your Majesty," he joked, making some blush in embarrassment. "Any complaints you might have, take them up with the Hokage. Got it?" He finished in a stern voice addressing the whole class, making the girl nod quickly, along with the rest of the students. "Now let us introduce ourselves to each other," he said. "I'll start as an example, and you guys follow. My name is Sora Miyamoto. I am 23 years old, and have Chunin rank. I also like reading and teaching." He finished and pointed at the Uchiha girl. She got up from her seat and turned to face the class. "Greetings, my name is Mikoto Uchiha, the heiress to the Uchiha clan." She paused as if thinking about what to say. "I am 4 years old, and I like training as well as reading. My dream is to bring glory to the leaf as well as the Uchiha clan." She then sat down, and the Uchiha boy got up. He looked excited to introduce himself, and started exuberantly. "My name is Uchiha Fujieku," he stated with a flourish, while still wobbling on his feet. "I am at the ripe age of 4. He dramatically flashed 4 fingers at the class. "I am an aspiring shinobi and poet. I will ensnare my enemy with my silver tongue and vanquish them with honeyed words." He finished loudly while spinning in place and bowing to the class. Silence. Everyone was quiet, taking some time to process the rather rambunctious introduction. The students had steady sweat drops building at the back of their heads. Naruto grinned in anticipation. He could get along with this guy. Finally, a normal Uchiha, he thought, forgetting that his definition of normal did not conform with the global standard. Mikoto just sighed and palmed her face, as if she was used to this. That raised another question in Naruto's mind. If the Uchihas had condoned Fugaku's erratic behavior enough to send him to the academy, they must be more lenient than they were in his time. Oh. I can work with this, can I? Naruto wondered. If they are more amiable this time around, then they won't be as isolated as they were before, and with some nudges from me, I could prevent the massacre. Naruto cheered. He was looking to save as many people as possible anyway. That's true, Nakyun, good job. Kaguya motivated him as if he were a baby. Naruto wisely refrained from commenting. She was weird like that. Everyone was still reeling from Fugaku's introduction, so much so that no one had spoken. Sora-sensei decided to move on, pointing to Naruto. Seeing as it was his turn, Naruto got up. My name is Naruto Senju. I am 4 years old and the heir to the Senju clan. He gave a wide grin. I like my family, ramen and gardening. I dislike the 3 minutes ramen takes to cook, and people who judge others without knowing them. My dream is to become the Hokage and protect everyone precious to me. He declared loudly and waited for the response. If he were being honest with himself, Naruto had expected derisive snorts and jeers, students assuring him that he would not amount to anything. He was fully expecting to be laughed at, and the teachers kicking him out for disturbing the class for the whole day. So when there were no such jeers or put-downs, Naruto was baffled. There were merely some whispers and nods. He sat down, the next students introduced themselves, and the class went on. Nakyun, these kids are not conditioned to hate you like the old ones were. Kaguya soothed in his mind. Everyone knows that you are the Senju heir and probably knows that you have the Mokuton. That alone lends a lot of credence to your dream, she finished. After all, it would be only right for another Mokuton wielder to become Hokage, just like the first. Naruto mulled over this information as the class went on. The scars of his past were deep, and the boy still couldn't believe that people simply cared about him, and believed in him as is. He did not acknowledge a certain Uchiha heiress looking interestedly at him. Eventually, class ended, and Naruto went home with Tsunade, who had come to pick him up. He was oddly silent on the walk home, quite unlike his usual cheery attitude. This led her to believe that his first day had gone badly. She asked him as such. Nothing, Kaachan, the first day was great. He lied, giving a nostalgic close-eyed grin. I'm just tired, honest. He stated, can we have some ramen on the way home? He asked, some light returning to his eyes. If Tsunade detected anything, she said nothing to that effect. Whenever he was confused, he could always rely on ramen after all, and so time passed. It was not long before the first year of the academy ended, and the second year began. Naruto had made lots of friends, and he was spending his school years as he should have in the first place. Through liberal use of Kage Bunshin, Naruto had managed to study correctly, and had placed consistently in the top 10 of his class. His training also continued in full swing, using Kage Bunshin as well as the time-space advantage his mindscape provided. Naruto was now at the level where he could take on anyone except for Madara, and that was only because of his still small body. He had also mastered the Mokuton and perfected the Hiraishin, but his version had no flash. He needed his father to be known for something, after all. He decided to keep the Rasengan, though. It was too much of a pain to wait for Minato to create it and get him to teach it to Naruto, only for him to struggle to explain why exactly he could perform and even complete the jutsu in 1 hour. Naruto would just teach it to Minato himself when the time was right, though he needed an explanation as to why he could do high-level Mokuton jutsu, and since he was the Senju heir, he had access to all of Hashirama's scrolls and Tobirama's notes. That also gave him an explanation for his knowledge of Kage Bunshin. Now, Naruto could safely say that he could start his crusade of fixing the world. But before he went off searching for Zetsu, Naruto had some critical threats to deal with, threats who had caused half the shitstorm in his old world to happen, threats that were currently loyal to Konoha. It was time to deal with Danzo and Orochimaru. Naruto and his usual group of friends were eating lunch at Ichiraku Ramen, which was currently being run by Old Man Tuchi's dad. Naruto was happy that the restaurant was a family business. He couldn't wait 20-something years to eat the glorious Ichiraku Ramen after all. It was the food of the gods. Kaguya quite liked ramen as well, so it was legitimately the food of the gods. Naruto was so engrossed in his ramen-induced delirium that he did not notice the deadpan looks he was receiving from his group of friends, namely Mikoto and Fugaku. Ever ignorant to the disbelieving eyes of his friends, Naruto continued to gorge himself and reminisce. It had been a year since Academy started, and they were all in their second years. Being the exuberant ball of energy he was, Naruto had immediately set about befriending his entire class. He had largely succeeded as well. Even the ever-so-cold Hayashi Hyuga would give him a small smile whenever they met. But 2 of his best friends were sitting with him in the shop, enjoying tasty food. However, the other 2 had eaten only 1 bowl each. Mikoto had taken tomato ramen while Fugaku had taken the mystery bowl of the day, true to his whimsical character. Minato was off studying somewhere, the big nerd. Fugaku Uchiha watched Naruto with something akin to worship. During the lunch break of the first day of the academy, Naruto had sought him out and befriended him. The boisterous blonde would not take no for an answer, and Fugaku relented, albeit hesitantly, and hence was born one of the oddest relationships ever seen on the face of the elemental nations. Flashback, lunch break, first day of academy. Fugaku sighed as he sat on the swing next to the academy. He reflected on the happenings of the day, and wondered where he went wrong. Fugaku had observed little groups and cliques forming in the class, but he was sadly left friendless. Was it his fault? Was his personality so off-putting that none of the kids wanted to be near him? He was always told by his clan to clean up his act and stop acting like a child. An ironic thing to say to a child, but it had some truth to it. He wasn't an outcast per se, but it was still irritating to hear all the same. Perhaps it was time for a change? Maybe he should be acting more like the rest of his clan? If he acted all cold and stoic, would he fit in more? Yes, that seemed right. At least his clan would be happy, and he would get friends. It was settled then. From tomorrow he would. Hey, who's that on my swing? Fugaku was cut off from what was possibly the most crucial decision in his life by a loud voice. Fugaku would have grown up stoic and cold if things had gone differently, as an Uchiha should. He would be betrothed to the clan heiress, birth two of the greatest traitors in history, and lead his clan to ruin. Thus would be his fate. But as always, fate was brutally shoved aside by a loud ball of blonde and orange. Hey, don't ignore me, you know! Fugaku was stunned as he took the intruder's form in. Bright blonde hair, cool azure eyes, and 3 whisker marks on each cheek. It was instantly evident to the Uchiha exactly who this person was. The senju heir, Naruto. Naruto was wearing an orange t-shirt with the senju and Uzumaki crests on both sides and black trousers. Correction, an irate senju Naruto, who was currently glaring at Fugaku. Still stunned, Fugaku shakily pointed a finger at himself. Me? Of course you. Who else is here, idiot? Fugaku was still trying to respond to Naruto, who was tapping one foot on the ground and pouting indignantly. He was sporting such an adorable expression that any middle-aged woman in sight would have squealed in delight and scooped the boy up to cuddle him. Fugaku regained his bearings somewhat and replied. My most humble apologies, Naruto-san, he told Naruto, who was taken aback at his intensity. I was merely introspecting on this mysterious beast that is life and all its beautiful nuances. Thus I did not realize that you wanted to swing. Naruto looked at him in confusion, not understanding a single word the boy spoke. He was technically older than 18, but he still didn't know all those big words. What the hell did they feed these Uchiha? It was of no matter anyway. Naruto had a job to do. Fugaku, was it? Fugaku tentatively nodded. He braced for the verbal lashing that would no doubt come, as it always did. Many found him obnoxious or weird, and even kids didn't hesitate to inform him of this fact. Any moment now, Naruto would also insult him. It was just a matter of when. You're cool. Let's be friends. Fugaku stared wide-eyed as his jaw dropped in shock. Here was a boy his own age, and he wanted to be friends with him. The jester of the Uchiha clan? It was too good to be true, but Fugaku was still an innocent child. He always wanted friends, and there was one right in front of him. Hesitantly he ventured, You're serious? You want to be my friend? He said, his voice betraying the vulnerability he felt. Fugaku's entire future hinged on Naruto's reply, not that either of them knew. Naruto grinned, and it was the widest grin ever. Blue eyes twinkled with mirth, and the reply came, Of course I am. Naruto excitedly stated, It's refreshing to see an Uchiha without a stick up their ass, you know? Naruto extended his hand, and with it, an offer of friendship. Fugaku stared. Fugaku stared hard. He couldn't even refute the insult, as it was true. And Fugaku shook his hand, laughing all the while. The heavens have decided. He swerved in place. The poetic platoon will make their mark in the world. Nakyun, this one's weird peon. Kaguya spoke from within. I know, I like him. There? Naruto asked, questioning the plural verb. It almost sounded like, but of course, noble squire. We shall start the perfect organization of outstanding poets, woo fair ladies, and conquer all that is to conquer, Fugaku exclaimed, a maniacal gleam in his eyes. Let us make more friends and tell them about our vision. The POP will be huge in the future. Wahahaha. That's rich, peon. Kaguya laughed as Naruto had a sense of impending doom in the future. If only Naruto knew what he had gotten himself into. Since that day, Fugaku had been trying to rope Naruto into forming the perfect organization of outstanding poets, to no avail. They were friends, even best friends, but Naruto always firmly refused any notion of a poetry club. And the name, POP, was just begging for a misunderstanding. Boss! Fugaku exclaimed with stars in his eyes, we must work together to make the POP grow. Naruto spat out his food, and he thumped his chest to avoid choking. Mikoto moved over to him and gently patted his back to comfort him. After recovering somewhat, Naruto sent her a thankful grin and glared at Fugaku. He missed her face turning slightly pink at this gesture. A fuck sound in his head told him that Kaguya had spit out her sake as well. Damn it, Fugaku! Call it something else, not POP. Naruto glared at him. You're gonna get us beaten to a pulp. And I'm not even a member. The Bards organization? Fugaku ventured. That translates to be. Oh, idiot. How are you even a poet, Fugaku? Mikoto shut him down, sighing in exasperation. Can't you see the stupid acronyms you are making? She was used to the boy's antics, but that didn't mean that he could just spout out nonsense like this. In the meantime, Naruto had forgotten all about the previous conversation. He had moved on to his next bowl of ramen, blissfully ignorant to the outside world. How can one 5-year-old eat so much, were the thoughts of the Uchiha heiress as she watched her best friend eat. While most people would balk at the notion of the prim and proper Uchiha Mikoto eating at a ramen stand, she herself was a regular here. And it was all thanks to the blonde boy currently gorging himself on his 20th bowl of shrimp ramen. While Mikoto was flashing back to fond memories, 2 shadow clones somewhere in Konoha did the job in silence. Flashback, lunch break, first day of academy. Mikoto Uchiha knew who she was. The Uchiha heiress, the pride and joy of the clan. She was hailed as a prodigy, and was expected to be a powerful and important kunoichi in the future. The daughter of Kagami Uchiha, the most powerful Uchiha in decades. She had the expectations of the worlds on her shoulders, all at the tender age of 4. She was expected to study, graduate at the top of her class, become jounin with haste, get married to someone of strong blood, and then produce an heir to the clan. It was what any clan heiress was supposed to do. It's what she was expected to do, what everyone told her to do. From her mother to her caretakers, everyone told her the same, that she would become a beautiful woman in the future, and she would bring glory to her clan. No one asked her what she wanted. Mikoto was trapped in her life. Even at 4 years of age she knew this. She had no real freedom of choice. Her father could and would do anything for her happiness, but the expectations still remained. Even at the academy, she was sitting by herself, eating her bento. All the kids of her age had gone off to play without even inviting her, as they were probably told to keep a distance from her. Being an Uchiha and all, her clan's reputation among the village was less than stellar. They were seen as arrogant snobs who simply stole techniques others worked so hard to master. She would be lucky if she got some friends while in the academy. She was a normal girl, after all. She wanted good friends to spend her time with. She only acted cold as her clan demanded it. Underneath it all, she was still an innocent little girl. Boss, where are we going? Our compatriots are in that direction, not this. A loud voice exclaimed, and she immediately recognized Uchiha Fugaku, the weirdest member of the clan she had met. The boy was an aspiring poet, and his behavior was seen as juvenile by the clan. I know. I thought I saw someone come here. It doesn't hurt to check. Another equally loud voice said, which Mikoto didn't recognize. And don't call me boss. She did, however, recognize the face that followed. Right in front of her, Fugaku trailing behind him, was Naruto Senju. The heir to their rival clan, said to be extremely prodigious and the wielder of the Mokuton. But why was he coming here? With Fugaku? Were they here to tease her? There you are! Naruto exclaimed as he chanced upon who he was following. She was a girl, Mikoto if he remembered correctly. She was wearing a deep blue high-collared shirt with the Uchiha fan and light gray trousers, the same as Fugaku. Upon seeing the Senju heir, Mikoto went on alert. He had to have some ulterior motive for approaching her. Even her own clan's children didn't seek her out to talk. What could a rival clan heir want? Why are you sitting here by yourself? Naruto asked, tilting his head in confusion. Mikoto, for all her thoughts, was still a young child after all. She wanted friends, much like anyone else. But an inkling of doubt remained. Oh, and why should I tell you, Senju? She snarked, reverting back to her clan's ways. Naruto just sighed. He should have expected this. No normal Uchiha would just freely interact with a Senju, kid or not. That's what he wanted to fix, to integrate the clan into the village more and hopefully prevent the massacre. Fugaku befriended him quickly, but that guy didn't come under the category of normal Uchiha. Naruto gave her a disarming smile, which seemed to work, judging from the relaxing of her posture. I was wondering if you wanted to be friends, you know, said Naruto. I already found Fugaku here, so what's one more, eh? But why would the Senju heir want to sit with me? Mikoto asked, still skeptical. Why not? Naruto waved her off. I don't care about what clan you're from. All I see is a lonely girl, so I came over. Then he looked at her pointedly, with a wisdom well beyond his years. What do you want? He asked, not as clan heiress, but as Mikoto. Set aside all the politics and games for a moment. What does Mikoto want? What did Mikoto want? She wanted to be free. She wanted to make a name for herself. She wanted to get out of the shadow of her clan. But most importantly, I want to be friends, Mikoto whispered quietly, like the vulnerable child she was. That's great. Naruto cheered, happy to make a new friend. He didn't know what came over to him, but he felt some sort of connection to Mikoto. Naruto felt as if he knew her somehow but couldn't place her. Shaking his head, he began. I'm Naruto, as you know, and this is Fugaku. Naruto gestured to the boy. Why were you sitting here by yourself? Mikoto mumbled quietly, looking at her lap. What was that? I didn't catch it. I said that no one wanted to play with me? She murmured while pouting. They thought I looked too angry and stuck up. What are you talking about? You're such a cute girl, how could they say that? Just like that, Naruto dropped the bomb. She was a cute girl, as cute as Hinata's little sister was. Let it be known that Naruto found her cute as one would find a toddler, not as a woman. He was mentally 18, after all. That would be creepy. Too bad the others didn't know that tidbit, thus prompting various reactions from them. Fugaku was shell-shocked, not having expected the Senju heir to so brazenly call the Uchiha heiress cute. That shock then turned into respect, as his boss was already wooing fair maidens at the age of 4. Naruto, you dolt. Kaguya sighed from the seal. That dense idiot didn't know what he'd just done. Naruto found Mikoto cute as one would a small child, but he forgot his own age. He's going to become a heartbreaker in the future if this goes on. But the most interesting reaction was from Mikoto herself. She had gone completely red, with steam erupting from her ears. She had expected insults and jabs from Naruto, but not this. He called her cute. She knew she was cute, everyone in her family and clan told her so. But it was different coming from a boy. A boy her age, with hair the shade of the sun, calm blue eyes, and adorable whisker marks. No! Stop! Cease! She was the Uchiha heiress, she would not gain a childish infatuation for someone just because they called her cute. She wasn't that easy to charm, damn it. But he said it so nonchalantly, so genuinely. All the while, Naruto was confusedly looking around, wondering why no one was saying anything. Had he said something wrong? Nah, Mikoto was cute, way cuter than other small kids he knew. So that can't have been it. Nope. Not a chance. So what do you say, princess? Poof, Mikoto's head erupted in steam, her cooling blush now back in full force. Princess? What kind of a name was that? She had read her fair share of fairy tales in her short life. Was he doing this on purpose, to get a rise out of her? One look at his face disproved that theory. He was looking at her like a curious kitten would. She didn't think he was being mean, but that meant he found her cute. Mikoto didn't know how to respond, and so she went with the basics. Dee don't call me that. What, princess? But you are a princess, aren't ya? Wasn't she the Uchiha princess or something? Mikoto sputtered indignantly. This fool was insufferable. Yes, that. Don't call me that. Naruto was undeterred. Okay, Mikoto-chan then, he said, grinning madly. Mikoto was really glowing by this point. No. Don't act so familiar with me, we've just met, you oaf. Then let's be friends, so I can call you Miko-chan. Miko-chan. Naruto exclaimed, completely missing all the meanings his words could have, while still calling her Miko-chan. Fine, Mikoto muttered, but then gained some defiance. But remember, she said, pointing at him, I'm only doing this because I have no choice. Humph. She huffed, turning away. Then she muttered in a slightly subdued voice with a mild blush. It's not like I want to be your friend or anything, idiot. Naruto heard this, and he just smiled at Mikoto. Compared to the challenges he had faced while making friends, this was cake. Didn't want to be his friend? Easily fixed. Half his friends were people who had actively tried to kill him. This wasn't even a challenge. Looking forward to it. Miko-chan, don't call me that. Flashback and, since that day, the two had been the best of friends. Always sticking together whenever possible, and doing homework together. They even trained together, and worked on making each other strong. They were everything from best friends to sparring partners. Since Naruto was known as a kind, friendly, and generally nice person, along with being the Senju heir and having the Mokutan, he was a very popular young man. Mikoto, just by hanging around him, was unknowingly improving the image of her clan in the eyes of the village. Even her father, Uchiha Kagami, was encouraging her to hang around the blonde boy more. Though Mikoto had no way of knowing what old man Kagami wanted from this, she was content in being allowed to remain his friend. Her confusing feelings about Naruto had only grown. Her face would heat up whenever he smiled at her, and she would feel giddy whenever he called her Miko-chan. She was only 5 years old, where most girls believed that boys were icky. She, however, was a clan heiress and was more mature than the civilian girls. She didn't understand these feelings and was too embarrassed to talk to anyone, but it wasn't a bad thing, so she continued to grow closer to her best friend. Somewhere in Konoha, 2 shadow clones dispelled in puffs of smoke, their jobs done. Ah, that hit the spot! Naruto cried excitedly, his stomach full of ramen goodness. Then he saw his 2 friends, looking at him with identical flat looks. What? He asked. Seeing as the looks remained, he turned to Mikoto. Miko-chan, what happened? Mikoto sighed fondly, a small smile on her lips. We were just admiring the amount of ramen you can eat, Naruto-kun. She knew better than to lecture him about his eating habits. He never gained any weight, and the last time she had called him out, it had turned into a disaster. That was a day of glasses, pointers, blackboards, and textbooks on general relativity that she would love to forget. How an idiot like Naruto could manage to prove, scientifically, that ramen is the food of the gods, she would never know. Her little white lie seemed to have worked wonders, as Naruto started beaming. Thanks, Miko-chan, you always flatter me, he said, scratching the back of his head. Then the dense oaf dropped another bomb. Miko-chan is best girl, believe it. He really meant it. Out of all the kids he'd known in both lives, Mikoto was the best. She was so well-mannered and polite, unlike the brats in his academy class. She was a really good friend. Fugaku fell from his stool. Kaguya spit out her sake again. Mikoto got a full-face blush, and and she started stuttering. Curse this idiot. Curse her traitorous heart, skipping beats like that. Don't get her wrong, by now, even Mikoto knew that Naruto was dense as a brick. She could discern that he never said anything with an ulterior motive. He was a pure soul like that. But that didn't mean she wasn't affected. Don't say things like that, idiot. She swatted his arm with a red face. It's embarrassing. But it's true. Naruto tilted his head in confusion. Before Mikoto could retort to the compliment, there was a loud noise outside the shop. Smash! A massive cloud of dirt came from the direction of the Forest of Death, and the kids rushed out to see what the ruckus was. After paying, of course. There, in the center of the forest, going on was a fight of titanic proportions. A colossal snake was fighting against an elephant-like creature, and both the beasts had a rider on them. Naruto recognized the snake instantly. It was the snake boss, Manda, but he had no idea what the other creature was. He clearly knew who was riding it, though. Danzo, Orochimaru, the two voices roared, and their beasts clashed once again. Danzo was fighting Orochimaru, but Naruto was not surprised. It was he who orchestrated it, after all. It was a simple matter, really. Bad guys were often paranoid and itching to tie up loose ends, making it easy to play them. All it took was to create two shadow clones, one transformed into a snake summon, and one into a rude agent. They then went to the opposing parties and threatened to expose everything to the Hokage. And voila, instant infighting. The funniest thing is that Naruto didn't even know exactly what the two had done. But he knew that they had done something, and so it was a piece of cake. It also helped that each of his messengers was cloaked in Rinna Sharingan illusions. Most of the eminent shinobi, including the Hokage, had gathered, witnessing the fight. Naruto's mom, Jiraiya, and Kagami were all there. How dare you threaten me after I gave you the first Hokage cells, traitorous snake! Danzo screamed, clearly insane. You used my resources for your sick experiments on children, yet you have the gall to threaten me? The Hokage balked at this, along with the other shinobi. Grave robbing, human experimentation, desecrating the body of a Hokage? These were all crimes punishable with the death penalty, and Danzo had just confessed to them. Now all that was left was for Orochimaru to. So what, you old fossil? Orochimaru hissed angrily, riding on Manda's head. At least I killed the children who are failures, but you abduct them from orphanages and train them into weapons. Orochimaru had just confessed while accusing Danzo of more offenses. Would Danzo? It was for the good of Konoha, stupid boy. Danzo declared in all his self-righteousness. Having seen enough, all the shinobi spectating jumped into the fray and apprehended the two. The confessions were heard by half the village. Their death was all but inevitable. Naruto smiled. In his previous life, Hiruzen had let Orochimaru flee and let Danzo fester for too long, all because of his personal demons. But now, he had to act in the public capacity as the Hokage. His hands were tied. The very next day, Orochimaru and Danzo were executed, and the two old Coots Koharu and Hamura were also punished. They were found associating with Danzo, hence were stripped of their positions and thrown in jail. They were out of the game now. Naruto had made sure to extract and destroy all of Orochimaru's weird soul fragments with his Rinnegan. Naruto hummed in happiness as he trotted on home after the public execution. Now that these two were gone, almost 90% of his problems were gone. Root would be disbanded, releasing God knows how many people. Nono Yakushi would be released, free to run the orphanage. Kabuto would grow up a happy child, untainted by both Danzo and Orochimaru. The Edo Tensei had already been destroyed by Naruto, thus making any resurrections impossible. The Iburi clan would be untouched by the snake, and would be dealt with by him in the future. The Akatsuki would remain, Yahiko would stay alive. Pain wouldn't be born, Nagato would pursue true peace. As a result, Jiraiya would live. Orochimaru was dead, so Hiruzen would live as well. The Uchiha massacre, Shursue's death, Danzo's Sharingan arm, Sasuke's tragic story, Itachi's sacrifice, it all would be prevented. No, it had been stopped. Yamato Taishu would have a better childhood, along with Anko Mitarashi. So many lives were saved, just from getting rid of two people. His problems were far from over, but for now, Naruto was on cloud 9. That mood rapidly plummeted when he entered the compound, and the world came crashing down around him. In the main hall were his mother, father, and uncle, with Mitoba-chan sitting on the couch. But that didn't matter to him. No, he didn't even acknowledge the other members. His shocked, wide-eyed gaze was fixed on the small form sitting in Mito's lap. As if sensing his thoughts, Mito turned to him, making the figure in her lap stir. Mito smiled at Naruto, face wrinkling with age. She then spoke the words which Naruto had been dreading. Naruto-chan is here. Come here, child. She beckoned. Let me introduce you to Uzumaki Kushina. The Senju household looked worriedly at the clan heir, who seemed to be frozen in place and repeating like a broken record. Naruto had looked to be on the top of the world while entering, only to go pale when Mito introduced Kushina to him. Kushina herself hadn't even spoken to the boy. She was just glancing curiously at the frazzled Naruto. Tsunade immediately wanted to see what was wrong with her baby boy but was beaten to it by Dan. Son? Is everything alright? He asked tentatively. Naruto was usually so loud and exuberant that seeing him silent was unnerving. However, he did not receive a reply as Naruto had already retreated into his mind. "Aya! I am not ready for this!" Naruto screamed in a high-pitched voice as he ran around like a headless chicken in his mind, waving his arms about frantically. He was scaring away all the rabbits that usually resided outside the house. "Nakyun, calm down!" Kaguya chased after him, trying to settle his nerves. They were just running around in circles, which made for a comical sight. "Aya! Nakyun! Triple AOF!" Naruto's yells were cut off as he was sucker-punched in the gut by an angry goddess. "What was that for, ya hag?" Naruto glared at her as he rubbed his sore stomach. Kaguya ignored the hag comment as she focused on the current situation. "Have you calmed down now?" she asked pointedly, eye twitching. Why must her host be such a scatterbrain? Naruto took a few deep breaths and nodded. "I'm sorry, I just got frazzled, you know?" His eyes then lit up, and he grinned. "All right. Mom's here, and this time I'll be her friend so she won't be lonely, and I'll help her make friends too. But she wants to become Hokage, and so do I." "And what about Dad?" Naruto shot off excitedly as he bounced in place. Kaguya smiled softly as she watched Naruto jump around in glee. "You really love your mother, don't you?" It was endearing how much Naruto loved his mother, despite spending a mere few minutes with her. Naruto didn't stop his bouncing and just gave her a seriously look. "Are you kidding me? Mom literally jumped in front of a huge-ass claw to save my life, and she told me she loves me, and she has the most awesome red hair, and she loves ramen. Best mom ever, believe it!" He cheered as he continuously chanted, "East or West, Kushina is the best." He was such a mama's boy. "Oh, then what about Tsunade?" Kaguya asked, intrigued. She wanted to know if Naruto's first mother held more importance to him. Naruto paused his chanting as he gained a thoughtful look. Indeed, Tsunade had been just as much a mother to him as Kushina was. They both loved him like their own child, which he was. But there could only be one best mom now, right? Wrong. East or West, Tsunade and Kushina are the best. Naruto amended his chant, not concerned in the slightest that best meant one. Naruto had never cared about the normal meanings of things. He then ended his cheerleading stint as he bolted towards Kaguya with a grin. "I'm ready. Let's say hi to Mom." Naruto shook his head to snap out of his thoughts and looked around the room. His family was looking quizzically at him, along with Kushina, who looked curious and a touch sad. It was only natural after being displaced from her home. "Naruto?" Dan prodded as he had received no reply earlier. "Huh? Oh, nothing, Dad." Naruto waved him off and excitedly bounded towards Kushina. She looked a bit startled at the sudden intrusion, but Naruto was too hyped up to care. "Hiya, Kushina-chan. I'm Naruto Senju." Kushina was taken aback at the boisterous greeting until a bright grin bloomed on her face. "Hi. I'm Kushina Uzumaki, Tebane." She shifted in Mito's lap so she could face Naruto. Mito just smiled at the two children. She knew that Naruto would be a tremendous help in acclimating Kushina to Konoha. Even when she was told of her duty, Naruto would be there to ease her burden. "Naruto-chan, Kushina here is my grandniece and your cousin." Mito explained. "She has arrived from Yuzushiogakure to become a Konoha kunoichi." Naruto already knew that, but he had to keep up appearances. "Really, that's awesome." He grinned. "I have a sister." Naruto did not know that Kushina was his blood cousin. She would have been his family even if she had been an Uchiha, but this was a much welcome development. Kushina grinned back, her sadness rapidly fading away. "Yeah. And I'm going to become the first female Hokage, Tebane." She pumped a fist into the air. The occupants of the room went silent at this, waiting for Naruto's reaction. Anyone who knew Naruto for more than 5 minutes knew of his dream of becoming Hokage. How would he react to Kushina proclaiming the same? Would he shoot her down, berate her? Naruto was stunned at Kushina's declaration. Of course, he knew of her dream, but hearing it was a whole different beast. He now was competing with both his parents for the Hokage seat? Bring it on! Naruto just clenched his fist in determination and then smiled at Kushina. "So do I, Kushina-chan. But I will still support you, you know? What is family for?" he said happily. Kushina heard his words and went still. She was still in culture shock from suddenly changing homes, and just wanted to be included. She knew that times were turbulent in Konoha. Kushina was worried that she wouldn't be accepted, that she wouldn't find friends. But here was the Senju heir, her cousin, claiming that he would support her even though she was his rival. Kushina didn't know what to think, and her heart was overcome with joy. Turning in Mito's lap to fully face Naruto, Kushina embraced the boy softly. She had been terrified, but her worries had been assuaged by the blonde. "Thank you, don't mention it." Kushina suddenly looked very shy, which was new to Naruto. He had not seen this side of his mother, and it was adorable. She'd probably clobber him if she told her so, however. "Since you're my cousin brother," Kushina stuttered, fiddling with her sleeve, "can I call you Oni-chan?" She whispered. She had no siblings of her own, but her cousin seemed very nice. She had always wanted a big brother to plan pranks and share ramen with. Her stay in Konoha would be infinitely more comfortable if she had a brother by her side to help her. Naruto stared wide-eyed at the small redhead, not having expected this in the slightest. He'd always been alone in his past life, and he often wanted a sibling to call his own. Now, even though he had parents, he didn't have a sister. And his mom had asked him if she could be his little sister. There really was nothing to think about. Family was family. The label did not matter to Naruto. Of course, Kushi-chan. Naruto glomped the redhead, making her flush even more. Naruto refrained from commenting on her cuteness lest he be pummeled. I'll be the best bro ever, believe it. Kushina just melted into the hug, truly happy for the first time in days. Fugaku looked weirdly at his boss, who was bouncing in his seat. He usually was the one bouncing and swaying in place, not Naruto. Boss. What has you breathing in the pristine winds of life? Naruto stopped his excited hopping and looked weirdly at Fugaku. Do you even understand your words, Fugaku? Ha ha ha. That is not something a poet should concern themselves with. My words are for my readers to understand. Fugaku declared as he started taking notes for a new poem. Fugaku aside, what has got you so excited, Naruto? Minato asked while smiling softly at the other blonde of the class. Ever since the first day of the academy, Naruto had forcibly assimilated Minato into his little group of friends. Like any other child, Minato had wanted friends to spend his academy years with. But seeing as Minato was always cool and calm, he hadn't particularly hit it off with anyone. That was until the end of the first day when Naruto had barreled into him with Fugaku and Mikoto by his side. You're our friend now. I'm sorry, what? Who are you, Naruto? You're Minato, right? Why yes? Great. Come with us. I really have to get going. Bobby. Non-negotiable. But, no. You're part of the gang now, believe it. We're going to turn Konoha upside down. Not the most conventional meeting ever, but it did the job. Now Naruto was one of his best friends, and he couldn't be happier. Naruto grinned at his chibi dad, elated for what was to come. It's a surprise. Mikoto shook her head at his antics. Why must he be such a prankster? Their conversation was cut short as Sora-sensei walked into the class. It was a testament to how scary their sensei naturally was, as the class immediately went silent at his arrival. Nodding happily at seeing the brats silent, Sora cleared his throat. Class, before we begin lectures I have news. Naruto's bouncing increased so much that his desk was rattling. We have a new transfer student with us today. The increasing tremors Naruto caused were making Fugaku and Mikoto bounce as well due to the shocks, like some weird physics experiment. 3 little kids bouncing up and down at irregular intervals was not a common sight. She has transferred from our allied village of Yuzushiogakure. Naruto's friends had to restrain him before he broke the desk. Come in. Along with the rest of the class, Naruto waited with bated breath for the new student to come in. A new student was always an exciting mystery, one with limitless possibilities. For the fangirls, it could be a new Bishonen. For the clan members, it could be a relative. A new student always gained the attention of the whole class. Kushina walked into the room, looking a bit reserved. She needed to adapt to having so many people watching her every move, but it was nothing she couldn't handle. Her new big brother, she still grinned whenever she thought of that, had motivated her, and reassured her countless times that she would be the most popular girl in the year. But she still needed to make an excellent first impression. Kushina looked around the class. Her eyes went straight to her brother, who was looking at her proudly with a grin and a thumbs up. Her confidence bolstered by this gesture, Kushina introduced herself. My name is Uzumaki Kushina, and I will be the first female Hokage of this village, she declared, clenching her fists. She didn't want to tell everyone all about herself, but needed to establish that she wasn't to be messed with. The response, while expected, was still disheartening. How is her hair so red? She looks like a tomato. An outsider will never be accepted as Hokage. Kushina tried to quell her sadness and anger as the class started chanting tomato repeatedly. She wanted to go and punch the nearest boy she could see, but a voice stopped her. Shut up. Kushina, along with the rest, looked at Naruto, who'd spoken, only to be surprised. Naruto's usually happy and bright grin was absent, replaced by an angry snarl, and his cerulean eyes were frigid and callous. Kushina felt scared of him at that moment, and he wasn't even addressing her. That girl is my little sister, you know, Naruto shouted, gaining gasps from some of the teasers. And she's a very strong person, but I'm not just going to sit by and let you all bully her. If you tease her again, I'll kick your ass, believe it. Kushina actually got some tears in her eyes at the blonde's words. She could very well have defended herself, but not having the need to do so felt nice. But Naruto wasn't done. And what even is tomato? I think her hair is super beautiful, you know? I wish I had straight red hair like her. Kushina felt even more happiness flood her heart, and she looked away to hide her fierce blush. It wouldn't do too well for her to actually look like a tomato now, would it? Even among a clan of redheads, she had always hated her red hair. To see her brother defending her and complimenting her so publicly was an overjoying feeling for a young girl who had been asked to leave behind everything she knew. Maybe she could have a happy life in Konoha as well. See? I told you that it was a nice surprise, Naruto said as he opened his bento. He was sitting with Minato, Mikoto, Fugaku, and Kushina. Yes, boss. What a marvelous surprise indeed. Fugaku declared boisterously. Lady Kushina, it is my absolute pleasure to be able to make the acquaintance of one such as yourself. Kushina just gave him a flat look. You're weird, Tebane. Alpha. Such devastating damage. Fugaku clutched his heart dramatically as he sulked in the corner. Don't mind him, Kushina-san. Mikoto addressed her. Fugaku's pretty okay unless he tries to woo someone. Hearing that set off alarms in Naruto's head. Woo? His mother? His little sister? Absolutely not. Fugaku Naruto spoke calmly, with his eyes closed. If you ever try to woo my cute little sister, I will make your chopsticks grow into your nostrils, ya hear? Kushina blushed brightly, both at his protective attitude and at being called cute. Mikoto blushed as well, but no one knew why. Minato chuckled. Honestly, Fugaku. Minato had to admit, Naruto's sister had some of the most beautiful hair he had ever seen, and her fiery attitude made her even more interesting. Then he shook his head, getting rid of that strange thought. Minato, I'm looking at you too, you know. Minato choked on his rice and looked up with shocked eyes. Had his mind been read? He then schooled his features and replied coolly, I have no idea what you're talking about. Naruto narrowed his eyes. I'm watching you. Mikoto chimed in, a teasing glint to her eyes. My, Naruto-kun, I thought I was your friend. Is it okay for Fugaku to woo me but not Kushina? Huh? Of course not. Naruto snapped, then turned to Fugaku. You got that? It applies to Miko-chan too. Fugaku just slumped over more and gave a weak groan of agreement. While Naruto was looking at him, he missed Mikoto's inflamed face. Kushina didn't though, as she smiled slyly. Oh ho? Interesting. Nakyun, you realize that you just scared your father away from your mother, peon? Naruto paused as he mulled over those words. My brotherly instincts acted up, you know? I didn't know I had those instincts. The reaction was new even to Naruto but not unwelcome. It never hurt to be protective of family. Oya? Is that so? I wonder if I should introduce you to my boyfriend then? Kaguya teased. What? Who's that? He'd better treat you right, or I'll kick his ass. Oh how adorable, peon. Kaguya squealed loudly, making Naruto wince. Nakyun is such a sweetie. Seriously, he was. He didn't even contemplate how the seal would permit her to meet a boy in the first place, just defaulted to Oni-chan mode. It was very cute. It had been 6 months since she came to Konoha, and Kushina was actually happy. She had thought that she would be miserable after being forced to leave her family behind and live with people she didn't know, but her actual experience in Konoha was surprisingly pleasant. Her brother went to great lengths to ensure that she was comfortable, motivating her and cheering her up whenever she felt homesick. The whole Senju clan was very welcoming and kind, which was great for Kushina. She had already made friends at the academy, something she didn't think was possible. Fugaku was a whimsical weirdo with a heart of gold, Mikoto was her new best friend, and Naruto was ever the loving older brother. Minato had seemed a bit flaky to her at first, but he was also a really nice friend. No, you can't do this to her. Kushina snapped out of her thoughts as she heard Naruto's voice. He sounded furious, so she went to investigate. She arrived at the room Naruto was in, only to notice that he wasn't alone. Granny Mito was inside as well, and they appeared to be having an argument. Since the door was slightly ajar, Kushina couldn't suppress her childlike curiosity, and listened in. Naruto-chan, it's her duty. She has no choice. Mito said, confusing Kushina as to whom they were talking about. But she's only been here for 6 months. It's too soon. Naruto argued back, making Kushina perk up. It was about her then. Naruto-chan, you're a smart boy, you figured it out on your own. You know I am not long for this world, and Kyubi needs a new container. That is her duty. Why she was brought from Yuzu in the first place. Only an Uzumaki can contain it. Kushina's world came crashing down around her. Kyubi? She knew what it was, but the thought was fearsome. She'd heard of Jinchuriki from the clan, human containers of tailed beasts, who were used as weapons of war. She also knew that they were treated lower than humans in most villages. Was it to be her future? To be glared at in fear by the very people she was supposed to be protecting? She didn't want to accept it, couldn't accept it. But she also understood on some level. Someone had to do it, then why her? Her feelings were in flux, but luckily she was saved by the blonde in the other room. Seal it into me then. Kushina's head whipped upwards with wide eyes at the statement. One peek inside showed her that Mito was just as baffled. Again, her heart was overcome by so much love and warmth that Kushina wanted nothing more than to break down and cry. They had known each other for only 6 months. Yet Naruto offered to get a freaking bija sealed inside him, just so she wouldn't have to bear the burden herself. How did someone like him exist in this hate-filled world? What? Mito actually stuttered. You don't mean that, Naruto. Kushina made no sound, instead opted to listen. Of course I do, you know. Naruto replied heatedly, if you need someone, just pick me. I am part Uzumaki too, and I even have the Mokutan. That can be used to suppress the Kyubi, can it? Naruto hated referring to Kurama as an it, but it was necessary to play the fool. Mito paused but then replied, strong points. But Kushina has a special chakra which would be helpful for controlling the beast. Naruto just gave her a flat look as an ethereal golden chain wiggled on his outstretched palm. This chakra? Mito was speechless, along with Kushina. While you are objectively the better host, she begrudgingly admitted, the life of a Jinchuriki is not an easy one, Naruto. You will have to endure many hardships. Even if the public won't know, the stigma remains. Call her selfish, but she did not like the thought of her grandson being a human sacrifice. Though someone would have to, one could hardly blame Mito for looking out for her flesh and blood, which included Kushina too. The decision had already been hard enough, but now Naruto wanted the beast in himself. This boy's selflessness would be the end of her one day, so? If Kushina was going to do it, so can I. I will not let Kushina suffer if I can help it. Naruto replied, looking at Mito with unflinching resolve. What kind of Hokage allows his sister to bear such a great burden, you know? Mito sighed, defeated. I will speak to Hiruzen about this, though he will probably agree. The senju heir possessing the Mokuton, chakra chains, and the Kyuubi will be a huge asset to Konoha. Then she bent down to his level and ruffled his hair. But remember Naruto-chan. The only way to control Kyuubi is through love. Fill it with love and take all its hatred unto yourself. Are you up to the task? Mito asked seriously. Naruto did not even need to think of a reply. Of course I am, believe it. The two didn't notice when a teary-eyed Kushina quietly left for her bedroom, her heart heavy with concern and fear for Naruto. The very next day, Naruto was tackled by a distressed Kushina as soon as he left his room. Why? She asked in a small voice, her face buried in his chest. Naruto was confused but realized that she needed someone to comfort her. So he tenderly wrapped his arms around her, enjoying the moment. It felt good to hug his mother, no matter how many times he did it. What happened, Kushi-chan? Kushina gazed up at him, her eyes puffy and red. That sight put Naruto on high alert. What? Who made you cry, Kushi-chan? Naruto asked angrily. I will be having words, you know. Kushina burst into tears anew at his reaction, accompanied by sporadic giggles. How he was such a bright and kind person, Kushina could not comprehend. I'm crying because of you, idiot. Kushina hiccuped as she hugged him tighter. Naruto blinked. Eh? What did I do? How could you say that you'd take the Kyuubi for my sake? Realization dawned on his face. So she'd been listening, had she? Of course I did, little sis. He relished in her blush. For one, I am objectively the better choice, and I did not want you to lead the life of a Jinchuriki, you know? And you also wanted to meet Kurama as soon as possible. Kaguya quipped. Hush you. Let me comfort Ka-chan. Kushina just got even sadder at this. And you think I want that for you? She mumbled. Naruto just grinned and patted her head, making her flush. No, you don't. But I want this, okay? And isn't an Onii-chan supposed to protect his Amudo? He teased, wiggling his brow. Kushina's face flamed further at the affectionate name. She was this close to punching him, but he was being really sweet and sacrificing a lot for her, so she would let it go this time. Still in tears and extremely happy, Kushina buried her face in the crook of his neck. Thank you, Onii-chan. You're the best, Tebane. Naruto just patted her head, stroking her long red hair as she hummed in delight. I will always protect you, Kushina. Believe it, never again would his precious people suffer even a small amount of pain. The sealing had just been concluded, and Naruto was unconscious from the stress and reality. He was perfectly fine, but he had to greet Kurama properly. After all, due to Tsunade being in Konoha and Naruto's secret meddling, Mito had managed to survive. Everyone was surprised at first but chalked it up to their lack of knowledge about Bijou and Jinchuriki. Naruto was currently in his mind, debating on how to welcome Kurama. The seal was really tight like Kushina's was. Since Kurama was also passed out from the strain, Naruto hadn't gotten around to altering it yet. Naruto held up 3 cards to Kaguya, who was back to day drinking. Kaguya-chan, there are 3 options to greet Kurama when he wakes up. Oh, do tell, peon, she said as she took a swig from her bottle. Naruto held up a finger. 1 straightforward and calm greeting, talking to him. Another finger, 2 just fist-bumping him as soon as he wakes up, and a 3rd finger, accompanied by a menacing grin. 3 The Naruto special super ultra mega duper amazing prank/plan. Naruto declared boisterously as he showed her the cards. Kaguya gave him a flat look. It's you, Nakyun. Is there even a debate? Naruto just wiggled his fingers together, as he cackled maniacally. Option 3 it is. It's going to be marvelous, you know. Kaguya was also interested to see how Naruto would welcome her grandson. Let's prepare. Kaguya Banshin. Naruto shouted as the area went up in smoke. Kurama was not amused. He had just been sealed, again, into a new host. Oh, how he hated humans. Ants, the lot of them. They bastardized his father's teachings, and they dare use his family as weapons? He wanted to tear them apart badly, but Kurama was also smart. He knew that his new host would be very young, if not a baby. All it would take was some manipulation and intimidation, and he would be on track to freedom. Then he would lay waste to this accursed village. Kurama woke up to find that he could not move. His arms, legs, and tails were all restrained, offering him 0 mobility. He roared in anger, cursing these stupid monkeys, but he sensed chakra in the mindscape. Good. The new host was here. Now he could proceed with his plan. Even if freedom was out of his reach, Kurama would be damned before he let these foolish mortals use his power. Kurama opened his eyes, only to be greeted by someone he knew. That in itself was a red flag. Because all the people he knew died centuries ago. The person he saw sent Kurama's mind into overdrive. Is that Kaguya? How is she free? Why is she free? What was the progenitor of chakra doing in his new host? Was she his new host? Why would she need his power in the first place? Was his new host her reincarnation? Kurama was about to speak when Kaguya began. Kurama, my grandson. Welcome. In a queenly manner, Kaguya greeted him. I am your grandmother, as you gathered. She then opened her Rinna Sharingan for added effect. Kurama, extremely confused, gave the most fitting reply. What? Kaguya was struggling to contain her laughter as she watched the bijou try to make sense of the situation. Let's meet your new host, child. She waved her hand regally. Kurama witnessed a flash of yellow, and a blonde teenager with whisker marks appeared in the mindscape. Hiya, Kurama. I'm Naruto, your new host. Naruto waved happily. How do you know that name? Kurama bellowed, incensed. This mortal dared utter his name. Geez, chill out, you know? Naruto said, rubbing his injured ear. I know your name because I was your third host, and I've time-traveled to become your second host. Naruto was confusing him on purpose, and he was enjoying it. Seeing Kurama about to roar again, Naruto held up a hand. He then immediately went into six-pad sage mode, which made Kurama choke on his spit. Then his eyes turned into the Rinna Sharingan as well, making the fox's brain shut down. He used all the unique chakras of each bijou for added effect as well. Then Naruto went and hugged Kaguya dramatically. One-chan, Kurama and I is being mean to me. He wailed while clutching her kimono and weeping like a toddler. Ah, is Nakyun sad? Kaguya cooed, enjoying the bijou's gobsmacked face. One-chan loves you, peon. Kukyun is just being a meanapants. You're the best host ever. She patted his head like a puppy. Kurama was trying and failing to process this new information. His new host had the Rinna Sharingan. He was also able to access Azura's Senjutsu mode. He was also the host of his grandmother somehow, and they were close. He also had the powers of all of Kurama's siblings? Time travel? Why was his fearsome grandmother, the rabbit goddess, acting so cutesy? What? As his mind overloaded, Kurama, the great nine-tailed demon fox, did something he was not proud of. His intimidation plan out of the window, the strongest bijou did something unworthy of his name. He fainted. Why is nothing happening? I'm so confused, you know. The enraged shout came from none other than Naruto, who was huffing and puffing in anger at his current predicament. He was at a loss of what to think, which made him very cranky. Of course, an idiot like you can't understand something this basic. An arrogant voice laughed mockingly. The great Kurama is stuck inside such a loser. Disgraceful. Naruto's eye twitched in irritation. Shut up, stupid fox. I said I was sorry, so lay off me, will ya? He pointed a finger accusingly at the fox, who simply huffed and looked away. Ever since Naruto had pulled off his totally awesome prank on Kurama, he would not stop teasing the giant fox about fainting on them. Even Kaguya had joined in on the fun and teased her grandson whenever she could. Kurama didn't understand anything at first, but a quick Nishu and Genjutsu set the record straight quickly. Now that Kurama was back to his old self, his pride was rather hurt at how spectacularly the prank had worked on him. He had tried to eat Naruto, but the blonde had proven himself to be stronger. Kurama had reluctantly settled for insulting Naruto whenever he got the chance. Just like old times. Kukyun, focus, peon. Kaguya chided from behind, making Kurama freeze in place. Kurama was actually terrified of the rabbit goddess, and it wasn't because she was evil. It was because of a certain incident that took place a little while after his resealing. Let's just say that Kaguya, who was a tipsy immortal woman with nigh omnipotence who liked cute things, and Kurama, who was practically a mountain of giant red fluff and very much a cute thing, did not mix. Not at all. I now understand what that wretched cat felt when Naruto was sent to retrieve her. He shuddered, recalling the incident and how Tora the cat always ran away from her owner. Kurama could respect that. There was no shame in fleeing to preserve your badass image, in his opinion. What was that, sweetie? Nothing, grandmother. If anyone said that the great Kyuubi squeaked, Kurama would eat them. Thought so. Kaguya smiled happily and took a swig from her bottle, and answered Naken's question. Will you? At that order, Kurama laid his head on his paws and thought for a while. The question Naruto had asked was about Yuzushiobikure and its destruction. It had been 2 years since he had been sealed into this idiot, and nothing was happening to Yuzu. That alone was cause for concern because Kurama remembered that the village should have been destroyed by now. Since about a year ago, Naruto had been leaving extremely durable and long-lasting clones to lurk around Whirlpool Country. They were to pop and report to him if they saw anything suspicious, and they hadn't, which was why Naruto was confused. Why not go personally and check? Kurama asked, looking at Naruto, who was pulling his hair in irritation. Naruto blinked, and a grin bloomed on his face. That's a great idea, Kurama. You're the best partner ever, believe it. He gave a thumbs up. Kurama grunted in irritation and looked away. It's nothing special, loser. My intellect is far superior to yours, after all. Now scram and let me sleep. Sun Kukyan, grandmother. With merely a thought, Naruto appeared next to one of his stealth clones. He looked around to see that they were sitting in a cafe, which was mostly empty. Good, no one had noticed him. They were in a residential district in Wave Country, which was the closest to Yuzu. It was the best place to keep watch without being detected. Psst. Boss, put on a henge, you know? The clone whispered, and he himself was transformed into Shino. Absolutely perfect for stealth, in Naruto's opinion. Naruto grinned menacingly. He had just the thing. He put his hands together, and then went up in a puff of smoke. The clone's eyes widened at the figure that emerged. HN. The clone deadpanned. No, you didn't, HN. Of all the people, why the bastard? The clone palmed his face. My day's ruined by seeing that stupid face so early in the morning. HN. Naruto, or rather Sasuke Uchiha, made his best attempt at the Uchiha giggle. This was the perfect opportunity to impersonate his rival and have a few laughs at his expense. R.I.P. bastard. Dobe, let's go check the village. Naruto coolly muttered as he strode out of the cafe, only for his eyes to widen at the first shop he saw across the street. No frickin' way. The clone, who was right behind him, saw the same thing he did and had almost the same reaction. What the hell? In front of the duo, in all its glory, was a name Naruto had hoped never to see again. Gato Shipping Company Introductory Sale. Deep in a cavern hidden away by time, Madara Uchiha was contemplating his next move. After his fight with Hashirama and awakening the Rinnegan, Madara had waited for the right time to strike. He required capable pawns, as just Zetsu would be no help in a real battle. The next step in his plan was to implant his Rinnegan into someone to ensure his resurrection in the future so that the Tsuki no Mi could be carried out properly. Zetsu. Yes, Madara-sama? Zetsu appeared from the ground, looking as cheerful as always. Hiya. The white half waved, but everyone ignored him. Find a vessel for my Rinnegan so that we may proceed with our vision. Without giving him a chance to reply, Madara retreated to his chambers. Just as Zetsu was about to do as told, a faint pulse of chakra appeared in his senses. It was familiar. Very different, very weak, but very familiar, and considering his sensing range and their location, it was somewhere in the land of waves. Black Zetsu's eyes widened, and he let a hopeful whisper slip past his lips. Mother? While the original was off in the land of waves, a clone was attending the academy as Naruto. He was sitting between Mikoto and Fugaku. Mikoto was diligently doing her coursework while Fugaku was staring out of the window and scribbling new poem ideas. Naruto himself was bored out of his mind. Hee hee. Naruto's eye twitched at the giggle, which had come from none other than his little sister. Kushina was in the row behind him and laughing at some joke that Minato, who was sitting next to her, had cracked. Those two had been sitting together a lot lately. This was both good and bad to Naruto. It was good, because his mom was getting to know his dad better. And it was bad because, well, he wanted to sit next to his mom. Damn it. Minato was already on track to becoming Rookie of the Year, with Mikoto close behind. Fugaku could honestly care less, and Kushina was not the most studious kunoichi of the bunch. He'd be stupid to tell her that though. Ring. Oh, thank God. Naruto groaned and threw his hands up, causing some of the class to giggle. Sora-sensei was too used to his antics to even react. He simply walked out of the class. Naruto-kun, I will be checking your notes to see how attentive you have been. Naruto's eyes widened, and he paled at the voice. He robotically turned his neck around, only to face a stern-looking Mikoto. After learning about his hyperactivity, the Uchiha heiress had taken it upon herself to make Naruto smart, and achieve an intellect worthy of the Senju heir. That's even more impossible than Danzo baking cookies for his root. Why are you even here, Kurama? Go bother the original. Che, I can switch later. One idiot or another, what's the difference? Kurama bared his fangs. Yeah, big talk coming from you, Fainty. Naruto giggled inwardly and cut off the link before the incoming outburst. Narrate. Naruto snapped out of his thoughts and looked at Mikoto, who was tapping a foot on the ground impatiently. Hey, I forgot? He chuckled nervously, hoping to be let off. Mikoto sighed and rubbed her forehead in irritation. Naruto, you have to take your studies seriously. How else will you lead the village, or even the clans? Clans? Naruto tilted his head in confusion. I meant clan. Yes, that is what I meant. Clan. The Senju clan. Mikoto blushed and sputtered, waving her arms about frantically. She was glad that he didn't dwell on her slip-up. Of course she meant clan. What other clan could he lead? The Uchiha? Of course not, she snorted. The only way to do that would be to marry into the clan, specifically the clan heiress. Which was her? Mikoto's eyes widened and her face went up in flames. Ma marry? Me, and then her eyes started swirling, and it wasn't due to the Sharingan. Naruto grew worried at his friend's reddening face. Miko-chan, you alright? Mikoto knew that Naruto's dense mind didn't understand anything, so she took a few deep breaths, calmed herself down and then continued. Theoretical knowledge is as important as strength, Naruto. Naruto whined at the thought of more studies. But Miko-chan, I am in the top 10 anyway. That's good enough, you know? Clones don't count, Tebane. Kushina sang from behind with a Cheshire grin. Kushi-chan. Hi sorry Anai-chan. Kushina stuck out her tongue, not apologetic in the slightest. Oh. The audacity. A loud voice caused everyone to snap their heads toward the window, where Fugaku was shouting out his newest poem. Your search is over, great warriors. For your greatest foe was always yourself. Fugaku guffawed and started scribbling madly in his book. He then started making loud noises of emotion again. Such marvelous work, by the gods. This shall be my magnum opus, a true tragedy worthy of going down in legend. He teared up and started raving about how great his poem was, ignoring the scared eyes of his friends. Fugaku? Naruto ventured hesitantly, being the bravest of them all. Yes, boss? Fugaku reverted to normal as he turned to them. However, what shocked the kids was not his sudden change in his personality. No, it was his eyes, deep crimson with a single tomo swirling in each pupil. Fugaku Uchiha had awoken his Sharingan. Oh, Naruto began. My Mikoto continued. God. Minato finished, as even he was surprised at the change. It was then that Kushina bluntly asked what everyone was thinking. How angsty is his poem, that reading it gave him enough trauma to get the Sharingan. She shouted with wide eyes, pointing a finger at the little poet. It was after that incident that Fugaku would rise to fame in his clan. No longer an outcast but one of the youngest to awaken his Sharingan, Fugaku was now a celebrity. It was only fitting, given that he had outpaced even the clan heiress in that matter. Sadly, no one else in his clan could understand his poems enough to evolve their own eyes from reading it. But his job was done. He had proven himself to the clan. Fugaku had gained the clan's support to become the world's first combat bard. An Uchiha and an Aburain walked into a shop. Welcome, kind customers. A short, stout man wobbled out from behind the counter, and both Narutos had to resist scowling. I am Gato. I know. Your very soul stinks. Naruto inwardly glared at the man. He could sense the negative emotions wafting off Gato, now convinced that the businessman was just as evil as he previously had been. But outwardly, Naruto gave his best Sasuke impression. This shop looks new. Are you new? Shino clone's sweat dropped. At least sound interested, man. Why yes. A keen eye you have, customer. It is my first month in business, HN. So, he was evil but hadn't done anything yet. That was somewhat relieving. Naruto wasted no time and put Gato into a genjutsu. When the shorty was frozen in place, he looked to his clone. Well, he's still an asshole. What do we do? Kill him, peon. That was fast. Naruto deadpanned. Naruto knew that he should kill the man, otherwise he would go on to do very bad things. But still, Naruto hesitated. He had never liked killing someone in cold blood, and the sentiment remained. Boss, we could just use that brainwash jutsu Itachi had and make him good, you know? The clone shrugged. It's not like he's done anything bad yet. I checked. Naruto rather liked that idea. Grinning, he patted the clone on the back. That's amazing. Thanks, bud. He gave a thumbs up along with widening his smile. The clone immediately took out a kunai and stabbed himself in the face, in the hopes of forgetting the image of a grinning Sasuke Uchiha giving him a thumbs up. His blank face and glazed eyes displayed endless horror, as he shakily dispersed into smoke. Well then, Naruto shook off the weird clone and turned to Gato with his Mangekyo Sharingan activated. You are to be a good guy, do no evil, and subjugate no countries. Got it? Naruto used Kodo Amatsukami with his simple set of instructions. Basically, don't be an ass, you know? Gato nodded dumbly. Just as Naruto turned to leave, he got a great idea. Turning around, he reapplied the illusion to a recently awoken Gato. And also, send all your profits to the Senju clan for life. Take a small salary for yourself. Bye. He then skipped out of the shop merrily, impressed at his own brains. Free money! Who are you and what have you done to Naruto? Kurama sounded genuinely puzzled. Not that I mind, though. Sigh, I get no respect. Naruto then observed the area for a few hours, extending his senses as far as they could go, which was very, very far. But still, he could sense no semblance of an invading force. Nakyun, it's possible that Yuzu was betrayed. Kaguya chimed in, making Naruto snap his head towards her in shock. What? But who would do that? It was probably Danzo. Kaguya said, he must have seen Yuzu as a threat to the glory of Konoha, and sold them out in some fashion. Her words were solemn, as even she didn't want to admit such a thing. But our villages were allies. Naruto shakily began, he wouldn't have sold out an allied village, could he? Naruto's hands were trembling as he thought over the possibilities. The prospect of his clan being massacred because of the actions of one fanatic man left a sour taste in his mouth. Think about it, Naruto. Kurama cut in, though his voice was gentle. Your clan were renowned for their sealing arts. And they lived on an island. They must have surely had a way to detect enemies from miles away. They should have had enough time to prepare a defense, or even escape. And do you seriously think all the other hidden villages would ally on their own to destroy one clan just after a major war? If they had allied, why didn't they target Konoha while they were at it? They were probably manipulated or instigated. Naruto shook his head rapidly. He refused to believe it. It's impossible, you know. Even Danzo wouldn't stoop that low. He looked to his two tenants with hopeful eyes, hoping for their agreement. He, unfortunately, received none, as the duo only looked down sadly at him. I'm sorry, Naruto. There's no other explanation. Kaguya grabbed him into a hug, which he immediately returned. Kaguya just patted his back, giving Naruto the comfort he so desperately needed. Naruto just shuddered in her embrace, hoping to calm himself down. He was at least glad that he had managed to prevent Uzushiogakyu from ever being destroyed. Even Kurama looked away, internally ashamed at his helplessness. Although, he did wrap a tail gently around the hugging duo to show that he was there as well. Naruto was thankful for his support, and grabbed the tail closer to him. The next couple of days went by in a solemn fashion for Naruto. He was distraught about what he had found out, but there was no way to know for sure since Danzo was dead, and Naruto, being the optimist he was, took consolation in the fact that no actual damage had been done. That was why he was here, after all. So, he looked on the bright side and stopped worrying about what could have been. At least you saved Wave Country. You'll be the one to bring peace to this world, Naruto. Both my father and I believe so. Kurama chimed in, his usual jeering tone nowhere to be found. Yeah, thanks, Kurama. Naruto smiled brightly at the fox, making him uncomfortable. You're awesome, believe it. I would be lost without ya. That is but obvious. Me too. Me too. Kaguya bounded over and leapt on Kurama, making the fox squeak in surprise. Eehee, fluffy fluffy. She snuggled into Kurama's soft fur and started making snow angel movements. The fox sweat dropped. Grandmother, are you drunk again? More than usual? Hickna, they may be weird, but they're family, believe it. Naruto sighed fondly, watching his two tenants bicker among themselves. He was immensely grateful for their help, as they always supported him when he was down, and never failed at making him laugh. Naruto swore that he would protect these two with his life. It was his ninja way. Tada! Jiraiya suddenly appeared inside the senju compound in a puff of smoke, startling the occupants. He then grunted in pain when Tsunade, Dan, Kushina, Mito and Naruto all simultaneously railed on him, thinking him to be an intruder. Guys, it's me. The great Gamma Sennin. He tried to laugh boisterously, but his breath came out in rasps due to the beating he had just received. Tsunade looked at the broken lump of a man with a twitching eye. Damn it, Jiraiya. What were you thinking, appearing in a ninja household like that? A sage always makes a flashy let me go. Jiraiya's confident proclamation turned into a whine as Tsunade harshly pinched his ear. I'm not a child, says the man who appeared inside the compound in smoke. Her eyes then softened, and she went forward and hugged him. I miss you, stupid. She really had missed him. He was one of the people closest to her after her family. She was glad to see him safe and sound. Jiraiya's grin also mellowed into a small smile. I'm back, Haim. He then released her and greeted Dan and Mito, both of whom cordially welcomed him back. His gaze then turned on to the only small children in the room. His eyes gleamed in excitement. Oh ho 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 ho? Has my godson finally found a girlfriend? He wiggled his eyebrows at the two kids before being clobbered into the ground by an angry Tsunade. You! Naruto and Kushina both made a grossed out face. He's my Oni-chan, Tebane, / she's my little sister, you know. Naruto was pissed, and slightly weirded out. The first time he sees Jiraiya in a year, and this is what he pulls? The man was really insufferable sometimes. Ahaha. I know, guys. I was just messing with you. Jiraiya waved his hand casually. We used to talk by summons, remember? Not funny, Tebane. Kushina pouted, and she just looked so cute that Naruto wanted to pat her head, so he did. Oni-chan. Kushina squeaked and swatted his hand away, a tomato blush on her face. Hee hee, adorable. Naruto giggled, making her blush even harder. He considered this payback for all the times she had punched him the first time they met in his mind. But embarrassing her was a good enough revenge, he mused. After a while, they all sat down and were chatting comfortably in the sitting room. So, Jiraiya, what are you permitted to tell us about your mission? Dan asked, sipping a cup of tea which Naruto had managed to grow somehow. At the mention of his mission, the Toad Sage puffed out his chest in pride and went into storytelling mode. I was supposed to go on a scouting mission to Amigakure, but I had to get to some contacts first. And the strangest thing happened when I finally arrived. Jiraiya then grew serious, prompting the others to lean in. I found that Hanzo was already dead. What? Tsunade yelled with wide eyes, making Jiraiya nod again. She was still processing this news and slumped into her seat. The man who had almost killed her team, who had crowned them the Sannin, dead? The thought was weird to her. She always thought of Hanzo as undefeatable, and to think he was dead. Naruto was nervously chewing on a cookie, trying not to show the panic on his face. Oops. Hanzo, from what Naruto heard, was powerful. Extremely so. But Naruto didn't need to outmatch him. He just needed teleportation and a truth-seeking orb. Both of which he had. Would you look at that? Convenient. I dunno who runs AIM now, but that's the gist. Jiraiya poured himself another cup of tea, but whoever the new guy is, he's doing a damn good job. The place looks better than Suna. It was actually one of Hanzo's apprentices who believed in benevolence. But Naruto shouldn't be knowing that. Ah yes, I gotta fix Suna too. Thanks, pervy sage. What else did you do? Jiraiya leaned back in his chair. Nothing much, to be honest. Met a couple of contacts, stopped writing smut, did a few diplomatic missions, got married to the leader of a warrior village, adopted 2 orphans from AIM, and came back in a jiffy. He finished, and sipped his tea with closed eyes as if he just hadn't dropped many bombs the size of a Bijudama on them. What if Naruto has Kaguya seal given by Senju clan? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.